If you've ever been proud of your own effort to boost same-store sales, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Welcome back. Happy Friday. We are at the end of the week. It is almost time for Mice Down, Drinks Up. But before that happens, we're going to need to get through another session here. We're going to break down everything that's going on. We got a guest for you today. We're going to have stock of the day to mention and talk about here. And of course, we're going to break down all the news and all the movers and trade with you here today. Let's get Friday, January 10th underway. Good morning, fam. Happy Friday and welcome back. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here. Hugh, good morning. Great to see you. We will be talking about Kerr indeed. Kayla, welcome back. Good morning. Big Bees, welcome back. Hopefully you're going to keep crushing it here today. It's been a great winter for you. Great to see you. White chocolate mocha, that's how we start off our days. Let's go, Chuck. Good to see you again. Drew, good to see you again. Crimp Biscuit, good to see you again. Sun-kissed Yogi, good as always. And also, Bernhard, welcome back. People who watch you on YouTube have to listen to one or more ads before we hear you. Okay, so we talked about the producer looking into, or we talked about that. I do have my producers looking into that. I don't know if there's anything that we can do to control that. Honestly, I don't think so. Well, I'll have the producer look into it, but I appreciate that. There's more hair on your chest than on your head. Hit the like button. That does not include me. You should see how thick my hair is. It's insane. It keeps falling out too. Good morning, Philip. Bobby, good morning. Austin, Bonbons. That's an awesome name. Welcome back. Ari Stock Market, welcome back. 3D, good to have you. Welcome back. And good morning. Hopefully, y'all are doing well. All right. Let's go ahead and dive into what's going on here today. We're going to start with the SPY. Let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. There we go. Got the right one. All right. Let's take a look at the SPY here. Now, yesterday, we were in a tight range. Okay, that joke wasn't great. Obviously, the market was closed yesterday. We're still beneath the 50-day moving average here on the SPY, but we're also still above the 582.30 level that we've had here, or that we've carved out as support. We're also under the 20-day moving average, so we'll see if any of those get challenged here today. We have the Nonfarm Payrolls coming up at 8:30. That's probably going to be the big data point of the day. We'll see what kind of effect that actually has on the market here today. But just to kind of set the stage from where we're at, we're above that 582.30 line. We're also above the 100-day, of course, and we're beneath the 50 and the 20. So we'll see if either of those get retaken here today. Also worth noting, 590 and 591, that area in there has provided some resistance recently. And that's going to happen here just shy of that 50 and 20-day moving average. So we'll see. We'll see what type of strength we have to the upside here. Quick look around this morning. Not great, though. S&P futures here down about 0.15%. That's actually a little bit higher than they were not long ago. NASDAQ down about 0.2, and the Dow is down about 0.1 here. So it does look like the market is coming up off the pre-market lows. We'll see what the data print gives us, and we'll see how the trading action is today. And whether or not that holds. All right. So really good stuff there. We'll see where the SPY goes here today. Let's talk about some of the news that is coming out there. First one here. I'm going to go ahead and give you the link. Good morning, Wiss. Good morning, Jane. Good morning, Robert and Diamond Hotline and Ralph. Oh, man, we got the whole crew's here today on Friday. You guys definitely looking to close the week out strong. You love that. Here is one of the articles that I wanted to discuss right here. This is no rate cuts in 2025, strategist says after the Fed's December minutes, which of course we got on Wednesday. Larry Tentarelli, hopefully I pronounced his name correctly, chief technician strategist for Blue Chip Daily Trend Report, projects the Fed to stay, quote, on pause for the next few meetings, given ongoing sticky inflation and continued strength in the job market. So basically saying, hey, no rate cuts. I know the market's kind of been turning over here. We'll see what they think about no rate cuts coming. He also goes on to say, however, he also said there is, quote, possible risk to the upside at 5% for the 10-year yield. So we'll have to watch the bond market as well if Friday's non-farm payroll comes in above forecast. That's one of the things that we are going to take a look at here today. Quote, in our view for investors is they should expect no rate cuts in Q1 2025 and 10-year U.S. Treasury yields in the 4.5% to 5% range, at least for the first quarter of 2025. So if you're kind of following all of the different rate decisions, the Fed and all of that stuff, go ahead and take a look at this article. This one, I think, one of the top stories here this morning. See where that ends up. We'll see where that ends up going. Hustle and bustle saying no sunshine in 2025. Well, this article is specific to Q1, so we'll see what happens over the rest of the year. I'll tell you something, that there better be some sunshine in the summer of 2025. I got big plans for the golf course this year. Big B is saying after deep diving into QE and QT, quantitative easing and quantitative tightening, that makes sense in light of the simmering coals of inflation and the bond market. So, Big B's, you are onto something there. Okay. So that's what's going on with the SPY. Again, non-farm payrolls. We expect that data here. 24 minutes. We're going to cover that as soon as it comes out. At least take a look at that and see what the market reaction is to that. Okay, let's go back to the Pro here. Next story is going to be on NVIDIA. Well, actually, you can share. I'm going to give you this article as well. I did want to take a look at NVIDIA's chart here real quick. This is going to be one of the more, I guess, popular stocks, maybe is the right word there. So first of all, again, the big thing here with NVIDIA is, are we going to continue being in this downtrend? We have made a really, really clean double top at about 153. Now we're pushing down here. We actually did give up that 141-ish number, currently sitting at 138, gave up the 50 as well. We are going to get supported here by the 20-day. Do we crack that? Do we crack that and move lower? I think that this would overall, I think this would be good. We talked about on Happy Hour how if this stock really starts selling off, like to the 200-day, which is down here at 119, or maybe even breaches that 200-day, you're going to have a pretty nasty negative wealth effect because everyone owns this in some way. If you have a 401k or an IRA, it's likely in one of those funds. And so indirectly, you are affected by this. I want to see NVIDIA kind of sell off so we can have some broadening of the market breadth. I want to see other stocks become popular instead of the concentrated 7, 8, or 10 stocks that we've seen recently. So we'll see if we end up getting that. NVIDIA slams Biden's country-specific chip rules, quote, a legacy that will be criticized, end quote. So here's the story. The new rules, expected to be announced as soon as today, are designed to curb chip exports to most nations with a focus on preventing advanced technology from reaching China and Russia. That part makes sense. I guess the complaint here is how the mechanism in which they're doing that. Ned Finkel, not Ray Finkel, but Ned Finkel, NVIDIA's vice president of government affairs, criticized the policy, arguing it would not bolster national security, but instead push the world towards alternative technologies. So we'll see here. If I were working for the company, I would say something like that too, but that's what's going on here with NVIDIA. We'll see what that actually does to the stock price. Again, kind of been in, a current, real near-term downtrend here on NVIDIA. So we'll see. All right. Next, though, y'all folks knew you were going to get this story today, especially if you were watching in the after hours on Wednesday or checked in on your stocks yesterday. Costco, ticker COST. Costco stock climbs after December. Net sales up 9.9% year over year. So you folks, you hear me talking about Costco all the time. This is pretty much the only brick and mortar store that I go to anymore. It is my favorite store. Costco reported net sales of $27.52 billion for the retail month of December. The 5 weeks ended January 5th, 2025, an increase of 9.9% from 25.03 billion last year. Net sales for the first 18 weeks were 94.04 billion, an increase of 8%. I mean, this company is just an absolute monster. I will say I did try and get as much holiday presents, gifts, decoration. I tried to do as much shopping at Costco as I could. So this all makes sense to me. I would say that it was, this December was an average December for me. I didn't spend any more or any less, but what I did do was concentrate it more into similar stores. Number 1 and 2 on that list would be Amazon and Costco. So Costco here trading back up now. It's actually above 950 here in the pre-market. I know Costco recently was moving down here. Let me go back to Pro. You see, Costco really came off those $1,000 highs that we had put in. This is a fairly orderly move down. We actually bounced off the 50-day before retesting it and then losing it. And now we've held the 100-day. Now we're trading back up. We actually recaptured this 50 and the 20-day moving average. Let's see where we're at here in the pre-market. Yeah, so we actually did. There were some prints up here that were 950. So earlier in the pre-market, we did kind of recapture this. We've come in a little bit, only about $8, and it's on very, very light volume. So see what happens here with Costco. Really good move, good data. And I think next week we should get more retail data, retail sales data for some of the other retailers to really kind of put the picture together on how the December or how the holiday went in terms of consumer spending. I think what we're going to end up seeing out of this, we'll wait and see what the data says, but I think what we're going to end up seeing out of this is that, as long as people have a job and have money, they still spend. We're not necessarily seeing a tightening, a preemptive tightening of consumer wallets. And so we'll see. We'll see how that carries into 2025, and we'll see what type of macro events might change that picture. But first read here out of Costco, same-store sales, definitely a good one. Costco trading higher here in the after hours on Wednesday, and then also in the pre-market here today. We'll see where Costco ends up going here. So good stuff there on Costco. All right, next is going to be TSM. This is Taiwan Semiconductor. Y'all folks know about this stock. We talk about this all the time here. World's biggest chip maker, Taiwan Semiconductor, posts record 2024 revenue as the AI boost continues. That surprises nobody, right? That surprises nobody. AI has been the clear theme that's been driving the market higher. It's been driving a subsector of stocks higher, namely semiconductors and these companies that have AI applications. This comes as no surprise. Now, the key here is that Taiwan Semiconductor is actually going to report next Thursday before the market opens. So we'll see what kind of move we get on earnings. If you just take a look at this chart, I mean, boy, oh boy, here's 2024, right? Here's the beginning of 2024. Stock's $100. This is an easy double over the course of 2024. We'll see if we end up breaking higher here. 220 really looks to be the upside level there. And then 196 looks to be that first real big downside. The 20-day moving average is just above 200 at 202.5. So maybe 202.5 to 200 will give us some support range, but that 50-day looks a little bit stronger there. We'll see what happens when Taiwan Semiconductor reports earnings. We might actually add this to the list for a potential Anne Marie trade. We're actually not going to see Anne Marie today. We will see her on Tuesday, so we will have time to take a look at TSM. So I'm actually going to add that to the list. We'll see if we can get an earnings trade set up and give it to the group here to take advantage of that. So TSM reporting earnings next week. They had a record year in 2024. AI's the rage. We'll see what that does for TSM in 2025. I know the big thing here, I guess probably the biggest headwind for TSM was going to be some of the global conflict with China in that region of the world. We'll see how that shakes out over the next couple of weeks and months as this continues here. So Tesla or TSM. Next story is actually on Tesla. You didn't think we were going to get through a day without talking about Tesla. I mean, there's no way. No way. Here you go. Let's start with the Tesla chart here. We're actually sitting, I can't remember exactly when we drew this Fibonacci. I think when Tesla was really making that insane rip to the highs. But we did come back down here, and it looks like we tested it. We even recaptured this 390.94. Let's just call it 391. We really did hold that level. We actually dipped beneath it and recaptured it. Now we're kind of testing that level here. So we'll see if Tesla ends up moving down. In the pre-market here, we're beneath 400. We're a little bit higher, and we're holding higher here. But again, this is really that level that we're looking at. That Fibonacci level at about 391. So we'll see if Tesla ends up holding on to that, or if it gives that up. I know this has been a really popular trade recently. This is going to be in the news quite a bit in 2025, so we might as well be as prepared as possible for that. Tesla launches a refreshed Model Y in China amid rising competition. So we'll see how Tesla does. I know there's been a lot of talk recently about, well, the new administration is going to kind of be at odds with China, and Elon Musk is a part of that, and maybe there can be retaliation, this, that, and the other thing. We'll see how that shakes out here. But the news today is that there is a refreshed Model Y in China, and it is a higher priced version. So if that sells well, we'll see what that does for margins, and then obviously for the stock of Tesla. The base variant of the Model 3 now starts at 235,500 yuan. That's up from 231.9. So it's not that much, but it is an increase. And we've also been talking about how China's economy really not doing all that well. So we'll see what this actually means for Tesla in the long term. But that's what's going on. That's fresh here today. Next that we're going to talk about is going to be Palantir. All right, Palantir, PLTR. Palantir CTO. Hopefully I pronounced this right. Shyam Sankar challenges automation potential as selling pressure mounts. What have we been doing for the past 20 years? So Palantir obviously has really kind of cooled off this really big hot streak that it's been on recently. Here's the story. Let me give you this story here real quick. Oh, looks like producer already. Nope. Hang on. Let me go ahead and give that here to you. Here is your Palantir story. If we dive into this, quote, if all of the value is automation, what have we been doing for the last 20 years with self-driving cars? We've been handling edge cases, Sankar stated, emphasizing that automation's effectiveness is constrained by exceptional scenarios that require human oversight. So I know Palantir has been one of the really hot stocks. There's a lot of talk about how much farther can Palantir go? Is this going to continue pulling back? If it does pull back, what are some of the big levels, et cetera, et cetera? Nothing has changed here for me on Palantir. I still really like the company long term. We've had a really good trade on this, several, frankly, on the way up here. So we've made money on the way up. We're pulling back here. All of this is normal. Honestly, my plan, wait out $60. We're currently at $67. Another $7 down. We really kind of test some of this level where we consolidated on this last run up. I wouldn't be shocked if this holds right here. This might also give us an opportunity to add Palantir here. So looking forward to that. I definitely want to be long this again, but I really want this to kind of come back in. I'd love for these moving averages to kind of consolidate a little bit more. I just love for this the term I want to use is come back to earth. It had such a meteoric rise so fast. And again, being bullish on the company, that's great and all. But I'd like to have some more exposure to it as the trade that I had was closed out, and I don't have an existing long-term position. That's my own fault. I don't have an existing long-term position, but I'd like to start adding to that. So let's see if we get 60. Let's see if we hold 60. If we do get down there, just FYI, in case it happens when we're not on air or whatever, I will be looking to initiate a starter position down at 60 for a long side trade. So that's what's going on here, Palantir. And then also Bitcoin. This one is actually I don't know what to make of this. I'd like to get your opinions on this one, actually. So let's go ahead with the story here. U.S. government Silk Road Bitcoin holdings dropped to zero after the Department of Justice reportedly approved sale of crypto worth $6.5 billion. So, of course, Silk Road was a internet site where people were using Bitcoin to transact for things that were illegal, like drugs and other things like that. the U.S. was able to confiscate that, and now it looks like they're looking to sell that. Now, a couple of things here about this. The interesting part about this is that Trump has really tried to be a proponent of crypto. So the Justice Department being cleared to sell all these Bitcoins valued at billions of dollars. They also shout out to our team here. We reached out to the Department of Justice to get a comment from them, but they declined to comment on that. The thing here, though, is that the decision to liquidate contrasts the views expressed by President Trump, or President-elect Trump, who has voiced his support for cryptocurrencies and opposed the idea of the government selling its Bitcoin holdings. I know a lot of people are pointing to Ecuador for this. Leader there has just an absolute ton of Bitcoin and might be one of the richer countries. Or is that El Salvador? I keep mixing that up. Let me go ahead and get that, and I'll correct myself there. Sorry about that. But anyway, this does kind of surprise me. I'd personally rather see the United States kind of hold on to a Bitcoin reserve. Part of me wonders if this is kind of a shot from the current outgoing administration to the new one, who has been has been a proponent of this. We'll see what this actually means for the price. I would imagine that if you're selling $6.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, you're likely going to see a move down in the Bitcoin price. No word on when this is obviously planned to do. It wasn't in the article here. Not sure if they've started doing this. It's El Salvador, and they are still poor. But you don't earn that money until you sell, right? So they're still in Bitcoin holdings, or they're still holding the Bitcoin, or they're still holding those in Bitcoin. They're not actually liquidating that to fiat. We'll see if and when they do that. But I appreciate that. Assist there, James. So this is kind of what's going on with Bitcoin. Again, the big takeaway for me here, I'm not smart enough to figure out what this is politically, to be quite honest with you. So I'm not even going to try to do that. The big thing for me here on this is that, look, they're telling you that $6.5 billion worth of Bitcoin is likely to be sold here pretty soon. So that's what's going on. And that is almost certainly going to have an effect on the price. So, okay. We do have a special guest here this morning. Can I get a thumbs up if you're ready, special guest? Just wanted to make sure we are good to go. This was awesome last week. We're going to cover it again this week. Let's put our hands together for Mark Petrino. I'm going to go ahead and bring him on now. All right, Mark. Good morning. Happy Friday.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going really good. But look, the first thing that we need to do is we need to do a victory lap here, because when you were on with us last Friday and you gave us the stock of the day, it was Fubo. And on Monday, when we woke up, it was up massively. So my question to you here, just to kind of start off with the stock of the day here, is what are you going to give us this week?
I don't know, man. Hopefully this blind squirrel can find another nut for you.
Hey, I'll take it. Definitely interested to hear what you have for us, though.
Yeah, well, I could just go through the last couple of stocks that
Sure.
I did on stock of the day. I guess we'll just start with. Can you see me, or do I need to share?
Yeah, I can see. You can share your own screen if you'd like. That's totally fine. I can also drive for you if you'd prefer. Whatever you're more comfortable with. You can go ahead and share here right in the stream, though.
All right. I've actually all right. Can you see that?
Yes, sir. Let me go ahead and put that on.
I've actually, believe it or not, I've had COVID for the last couple of days.
Oh no, how you feeling?
I feel fine, but I keep coughing, and the weirdest thing is, like, I can't smell anything. My wife usually puts on these like scented candles at night, which make me kind of nauseous, and I guess that's the advantage of being sick, is that I can't smell the candles. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. I love scented candles. I'm sorry to hear that they make you nauseous, but hey, at least that's a glass half full approach there.
Yeah, right.
I'll tell you what, you don't sound worse for wear.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm fine, man. Whatever. All right, a couple things here. Yesterday I did this on semiconductor or ON semiconductor.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because we could be breaking this pretty clear support here, right down around the $61 level. And I think that people take this stuff for granted when it comes to technical analysis. I mean, think about it. This is a company that's worth, how many billions and billions and billions of dollars. And if we go back all the way to August of 22, so we're talking like, 2.5 years almost, every time it's gone down to this $61 level, what has happened? It found support
Mm-hmm.
and it rallied. This is what we call market memory. Sometimes a price that's important can be important for a long time. And it's almost like if I didn't look at a chart, I wouldn't even believe it. If someone said to me, well, hey, every time the stock got down to $61 for the last 2.5 years, it found support and it rallied. But charts don't lie. And people spend a lot of time talking about, like when I was in business school, all we heard about was like efficient market, the market follows a random path and all this garbage. If markets were efficient, every price level would have the same importance. There would be no such thing as a support level or a resistance level. But as you can see, every time we've gone down to 61, we found support. If a market's people, I think, overthink technical analysis. It's really just the study of supply and demand, right? If a market is trending lower, why is that happening? Well, it's happening because there's not enough demand. There's not enough buyers, demand and buyers. It's the same thing. So if you're a seller, what do? You have to offer your shares out at a discount to get the buyers off the sidelines, to draw them into the market. But when you get to a support level, all of a sudden the dynamic changes. There is enough demand. Sellers can sell all they want without having to worry about pushing the price lower. And sometimes when you get to support, what happens? You rally. And that's because, some of the people that want to buy start thinking, I can censor other buyers coming into the market here. I know the sellers are going to go to whoever is willing to pay the highest price. So I better increase the price I'm willing to pay. Other people do the same thing. They say, hey, that guy's willing to pay a higher price. I don't want the sellers to go to him. I don't want to miss out. So I'm going to increase the price I'm willing to pay. And you get this like snowball effect, a bidding war. And this drives the price higher. So a lot of times you get to support, the price moves higher. And you can see that right here. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason why this was the stock of the day yesterday is because it looks like the support has finally, after 2.5 years, been broken. When we say support breaks, this means that the stock trades lower than the support level. And it's not just a symbolic thing. It tells us that, the buyers who created this support with their buy orders, or the traders and investors who created the support with their buy orders, are out of the way. Maybe they finished their orders, maybe they canceled their orders. Regardless, they're out of the way. So now, once again, the sellers may be forced to push the price lower in order to get the interest of buyers. So support breaking means there's a good chance that the thing is going to go lower. So my guess is that ON, I don't know if it's on semiconductor or ON semiconductor. Most people say on, but my guess is that it's going to start to go lower here because the support is breaking. But I think what I'm really trying to say is people overcomplicate this stuff. Technical analysis, if you do it right, it's really just a study of supply and demand. And it doesn't matter what market it is. It could be the stock market, the market, the bond market, the housing market,
the Bitcoin market,
anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's not enough demand, sellers have to push the price lower. And of course, it's the opposite when something is going up. There's not enough supply, so the buyers have to take the price higher. So I think that this is pretty interesting thing. This is pretty interesting. It's on my radar screen here for a move lower. It's trading down again this morning. So I think there could be something here to do on the short side, meaning buying puts. I tell people I don't think it makes sense to short stocks. I've never shorted a stock in my life. I have in my institutional world, but not for my, myself. You're much better off just buying puts, because if you're wrong, well, the most you can lose is what you put in, how much money you put into your puts. If you actually shorted the stock and you're wrong, like say OM gets taken over tomorrow at $100 a share and you're short the stock, well, you're going to have an issue. It's not going to be a good day.
Absolutely. You know, Mark, I'm glad that you said that too, because this is actually one of the things that I kind of picked up. I'm not a CMT. I'm self-taught, and I picked up that, hey, I don't necessarily have a risk appetite for a hypothetical unlimited risk by shorting a stock. And in your example there of buying puts, your risk is defined ahead of time. That makes a lot more sense to me. That's also how I capture those things. What? Just a really quick request here. Is there any chance you can quickly close the chat? I actually think we'll get a bit bigger chart there that might be easier for people to see. Yeah, it is a little bit longer time frame there. So, okay. Sorry, keep going.
All right. Next up, let's take a look at Johnson & Johnson. Now, the reason why I'm looking at this is because there are different sectors are in the driver's seat at different times, is what I would say. There's 11 sectors of the S&P 500. And sometimes, everyone pays attention to tech, but sometimes the financials are in the driver's seat. Sometimes it's tech, sometimes it's healthcare. And if you kind of let the market tell you what to do, as opposed to just kind of coming in with a preset notion. In other words, some people might come in and be like, you know what, today I'm going to trade this. Today I'm going to trade that. Well, I don't think that's the way to do it. I think the way to do it is to say to yourself, let me look. Let me see. Here we go. Let me see what is in the driver's seat. And from there, the market will tell me what to do. Now, healthcare has been kind of important. And now we have another stock here, Johnson & Johnson, which is one of the biggest stocks in the healthcare sector, that look at this, right? Kind of similar to what we looked at on semiconductor, but it hasn't really broken down yet. Although I would say, take that back. It looks like this is kind of starting to break the support level too. So going back to October of 23, you've had this important support around the 145 level. It was support here. And just like we talked about, we got to support and we rallied. We got to support and we rallied. Now it looks like the support is kind of breaking here. Again, what does that mean? Well, it means that people, the traders and investors who created the support with their buy orders, maybe they're out of the market, maybe they canceled, maybe they finished their orders. Regardless, it doesn't matter. But if they're out of the way, sellers come into the market, and what do they got to do in order to get the interest of buyers? They have to push the price lower. It's really important to know where these important price levels are, because when something gets to an important price level, it doesn't hang out there for too long typically. It either reverses or it breaks. So one way or the other, there could be a trading idea there.
And Mark, let me just take a pause here real quick, because we did just get one of the big data prints that we were waiting for here. Looks like the and producer U.S. employment rate for December 4.1% versus the 4.2% estimate. The prior read there was for 4.2%. U.S. non-farm payrolls for December 223,000 versus 164K estimate. The prior read was for 182K. You can see here SPY selling off. The initial reaction is down. Looks like we printed 583 on the low, and we came up off that, holding here at about 585. So, Mark, I'm sorry for cutting in there, but this was probably the biggest data point of the day. I know you were talking about support levels breaking down. Maybe if the SPY continues to trade down here, you might have some more of that helped out by this data print today.
Yeah, and going to these important price levels, I'm just going to bring up SPY here real quick.
Yep.
And again, I mean, maybe it's just because I'm a chart geek, but I think people take this stuff for granted. I mean, if you think about the market, the S&P 500, we're talking trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, and we're talking millions and millions and millions and millions of investors all over the world. Yet somehow we find these precise price levels. So here's an example of what was resistance on SPY in October has converted into support. And this support actually could be starting to break. Now, why would a level that was resistance just turn into support? It's not coincidence. There are people who sell here who thought they made the right move when the price went lower initially, but then eventually we went higher, and the what was resistance here broke. And a lot of the people who sold say, I made a mistake. If I can, I'm going to buy my shares back, but I'm only going to do so if I can buy them at the same price that I sold them at. So seller's remorse can turn what was resistance into support. You can see it back here too, right around the 566 level, right? Resistance turned into support. Resistance turned into support. Now, to me, news aside, this looks kind of weak. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we have here what we would call lower highs. Markets don't go in straight lines, they go in peaks and valleys. And when the peak forms at a lower level than the peak that was before it, we call that a lower high. This tells us that the people that want to sell are coming into the market at lower prices. They're getting more aggressive. And this is kind of forming your classic descending triangle pattern. I think some patterns are kind of, I don't really pay attention to, but ascending and descending triangle patterns tend to be pretty reliable. And just think about what this is showing us here, right? Forget the technical analysis, forget the name. The buyers have been kind of holding firm down around 585. They're like, all right, whatever, man.
Mm-hmm.
If the seller comes to me, fine. If not, I'm just going to hang out. The buyers are patient. But at the same time, as time is going by, what's going on? The sellers are getting more aggressive. They're willing to come into the market at lower prices. So the descending triangle pattern is an illustration of aggressive sellers and complacent or patient buyers. Regardless of the market, Bitcoin, stocks, commodities, bonds, shoes, whatever. If you have aggressive sellers and you have complacent buyers, it sets the stage for a move lower. So a lot of times when you get to support and you're wondering, gee, is this support going to break or not? If you look back in time and you see that we've had these lower highs leading into the support, there's a good chance that the support is going to break. And, I mean, that's what we see right here. So, I mean, short term, I would say I'm bearish on the broad market. But
Okay.
I mean, think about it. This is trillions of dollars, and yet we get these precise price levels. When I was in business school, we talked about random walk, efficient market theory, blah, blah, blah. It took me years to unlearn that stuff. Maybe I can get a refund, right?
I don't. You let me know if you can. I'll try to get one also, if that's the case. Real quickly here, Chris saying that the market is selling hard. So, Mark, it looks like you're right on to that. It does look like here SPY holding 582.5 just about. We got the unemployment rate and the non-farm payrolls, Chris. That's the data that's moving the market to the downside here.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. What else did I do for stock of the day? Johnson & Johnson, we talked about. How about Getty? I think Getty is really an amazing story with the, Jean Paul Getty was the richest man in the world, and they kidnapped his grandson, and he didn't want to pay the ransom. So they cut off his grandson's ear and mailed it to the newspaper. That was like back in the 70s. But
that's terrible.
Oh, I mean, it's insane, man. It really is. Anyway, one of the Gettys, I mean, I don't know the whole history of them, but one of the Gettys is the person that started Getty Images. And now look at the reversal we had here. Yeah. So this is another example of what I call, there's an old saying, it's called, gaps refill, right? That's like an old saying on Wall Street. One of the reasons why we get resistance or support is because we have buyer's remorse or seller's remorse. For example, someone buys something at, say, 10 and it goes to 8, and they say, you know what, if it gets back to 10, I'm going to sell and I'm going to get out of this at break even. So buyer's remorse can create resistance. People buy, the price goes lower. If it gets back up to their buy price, they place their sellers. Seller's remorse can create support, like we just saw. Now, if we go really quickly through price levels one way, or if we gap through them, in other words, we close at one price and we open at a different price, there's no trading in between there. And it's kind of the same principle when you make a fast move. There's trading, but it's limited. So if you make a fast move going one way through price levels, and then eventually you reverse and get back to those price levels coming in the opposite direction, there's a good chance you can make a fast move back through them. And you can see that here, right? Fast move up, spend some time consolidating, you reverse, and you get back to those price levels coming in the opposite direction, and you make a fast move back down. Because we moved so quickly through these levels, you just didn't have a lot of time for there to be this large group of sellers who are going to be experiencing remorse, who are going to be wanting to buy on the way back down. Here you have your fast move down, and because you move through these price levels so quickly, you just don't have a lot of time for there to be this big vested interest of buyers who are going to be trying to sell on the way back up. You can see this on pretty much any chart. You make a fast move down through certain price levels. You spend some time consolidating. You get back to those levels going in the opposite direction. You make a fast move right back through them. Spend some time consolidating. You get back to those levels going in the opposite direction. You make a fast move back down. Spend some time consolidating. You get back to those price levels going in the opposite direction. You make a fast move back up. So this is what I call fast move up, fast move down. I know, I know it's not very sophisticated terminology, but it's pretty interesting. So anyway, we made this fast move down here, and then we had the news, and we made the fast move higher. Now we've reversed, but going back to our important price level discussion here, look at that, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, again, like this stuff boggles my mind. This blue line here, we're going to just make it really precise. We're going to make it 385. All right. 385 was resistance, and it became support. We had this big move higher on a little, let's see, because yesterday the market was closed. So this was on Tuesday. The high trade was 387. So we're talking about 2 cents. Right? 2 cents of a stock that's worth billions of dollars. What was resistance becomes resistance. Now, resistance can become resistance again because of what? Buyer's remorse. People buy and then the price goes lower and they say, you know, this sucks, man. I made a mistake. If it gets back to my price and I can get out at break even, I'm going to. So people that bought here, placing sell orders over here, can make what was resistance become resistance again. Now, we have the seller's remorse. People sold and then the price goes higher. And when it comes down, they're like, oh, I want to buy my shares back. I made a mistake, but I'm only going to do so if I can get them at the same price that I sold them at. So buyer's remorse can keep resistance intact. Seller's remorse can turn what was resistance into support. And then fast forward, we get this big move higher because of the news. And we find resistance literally within 2 cents of what was resistance back here and what became support here. My philosophy of technical analysis is this: it's levels, trends, momentum, and psychology. That's it. I don't go into any of this, like, you know, I mean, I know people, if you can make money off of it, you know, that's awesome. But like, I don't do Elliott Wave. I don't do Gann. I don't do Fibonacci. I just focus on the important price levels, the trends, and the momentum. And I mean, this is really kind of astonishing. I mean, you could talk to any college professor who teaches finance and say, how is it possible that this stock had the exact same valuation on Tuesday, January 25th? Tuesday, January 25, that it did on October of 21st, that it did on July 17th. But charts don't lie. I mean, look at that. Within 2 cents is where we found the top. So this is one of the things I learned in my institutional trading days. My forte was small cap and micro cap. I mean, I basically traded everything. In you know, over my career, but my main thing that I did was small cap and micro cap. And you know, I think if you do anything for long enough, you kind of become competent with it. And if you're trading illiquid stocks, you got to know where the buyers and the sellers kind of, in trading terms, you got to know, where do the buyers live, where do the sellers live, like where are they going to come out? And yeah, so anyway, so we picked this you know, this resistance level around 385 and got within 2 cents of it. And now what happens, right? People that want to sell start to get worried. They know the buyers are going to go to whoever is willing to sell at the lowest price. So some of the sellers say, you know what? I'm at 385. I don't want to miss. I'm going to go to 380. Someone else is like, wait a second, that guy went to 380. I don't want to miss out. I'm going to go to 375. And you get a snowball effect. You know, just like we had the bidding war that makes things rally off of support, you get sellers undercutting each other, and that makes us sell off of resistance. So that's what happened there.
And real quick here, Brandy in the chat here saying SPY stopped close to the level you mentioned earlier in the week, Ryan. And the reason that I'm highlighting this is because this is exactly what Mark is talking about. Mark's looking at Getty here, which is what I also had up. But let me show you exactly what Brandy is referencing here. It's the exact same lesson Mark just gave us. If you take a look at the daily chart here, this 582.30 level that I had on SPY was a previous breakout and support level. I identified it the exact same way Mark just did. If you look inside today, look at where that price bounced from. It was almost right there. So now on Getty, on a $3 stock, I wasn't off by a penny. I was off by a little bit. But the exact same thing is happening here, Brandy. So, all right, Mark, I'm going to go back to your charts here real quick.
Cool. Hello, Brandy. How have you been? Brandy's one of my favorite students.
Oh, I wish I knew that. There you go. Welcome, Brandy.
All right, what else can we look at that I talked about? Advanced Micro Devices was our stock.
All right, AMD. That's a show favorite.
And once again, look at this, right? We have support at the level that was support before, right? People sell, and then the price blasts off. And a lot of the people that sold are like, you know what? I made a mistake. If it gets back to my level, I'm going to buy my shares back. So seller's remorse can make a level that was support become support again. And it looks like this is trading lower in the pre-market. So this support looks to be breaking too. So we're kind of we're kind of finding a theme here. It seems like there's a bunch of important stocks that are breaking support. And where are we this morning? Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, down 3%. Yep, remember, support is a large group of buyers. If we get below that, we say the support has been broken. And this isn't just symbolic. It tells us something. It tells us that the people that created the support with their buy orders are out of the way. Maybe they cancel their orders. Maybe they finish their orders. We don't even know. But now when sellers come into the market, they're going to have a hard time finding buyers. So they are going to be forced to push the price lower in order to draw buyers in off of the sidelines. So a lot of times when support breaks, it's the beginning of a new downtrend. And that could be the case here.
Now, Mark, a real quick follow-up question on exactly that. You're mentioning the support breaking. I noticed that you have a daily chart here on AMD, and we have a candle that's testing one of these levels. Do you put any emphasis on where that candle closes versus breaching that level maybe intraday and then holding it? Like, do you put more weight on a daily candle after the candle has closed with respect to different levels?
Yeah, I mean, my time frame, I was never really a day trader. I was more of like what you call a swing trader, someone who has maybe a week or a month time frame. Most volume trades on the open and on the close. So those tend to be the most important prices.
Okay.
So, if something closes, something could get below the support and then come back by the end of the day and close above the support. What does that tell us? It tells us, well, the buyers are still active. Maybe the buyers were on the sidelines. And when the stock was down, they said, you know what, I'm going to come into the market here and I'm going to start buying. But the closing price and the opening price are the two most important prices. So, yeah, I would say the fact that this closed right at the support and this morning now it's trading lower, it's kind of important. But everyone has a different time frame, right? And if you're trading like on a weekly or a monthly basis, I think the most important price is the closing price. And I guess there are various reasons for this, but if you think about the old days, before people had computers, what would they do, right?
They'd look in the paper when the stock closed.
Exactly. Yeah. And that would be the most important price. And you can see it in the volume. You could just look at it, any daily chart, and you could just see most volume is on the open or on the close. So I think the closing price is the most important price, and that's typically what I pay attention to. But yeah, I mean, look at that. Again, I mean, this stuff boggles my mind. We have a stock that's worth how many trillions of dollars or billions of dollars in market cap, and you literally got within pennies of where the open was back on August 5th. And and we talk about psychology, right? Which is really kind of, I think, the most important thing. Yeah. Yesterday, the stock was down
4.5%.
Not yesterday. I'm sorry. I'm confused because I know the market was closed yesterday. What happened on Wednesday that made Advanced Micro lose 4.3% of its value, of its market cap? Did like a factory burn down or blow up somewhere? Are they getting sued? This morning, it's down another 3%. So in 2 days, we're talking about a move of over 7% of a huge, huge company. What happened? Was there news? Was there earnings? Whatever. It moved because of investor perceptions. It's psychology. That's what moves stocks. On this particular day here, we opened at, roughly around 122.50 and we closed around 135. What happened on that particular day that made this company gain so much market value in terms of percentage? And the answer is nothing. The only thing that has changed is investor perceptions. This is why it's important to understand when you're looking at a chart. I think this is a good way to think. When you're looking at a chart, you're not looking at the chart of the stock. You're looking at the chart of the psychology of the people that are doing the trading. Okay. And this is another fascinating thing about charts is why do we see the same patterns in charts of different things? We could be looking at oil. We could be looking at Bitcoin. We could be looking at a stock. You see the same patterns. Why is that?
Psychology.
Well, exactly. And whether you're a Bitcoin trader, a stock trader, a bond trader, an ETF trader, people experience the same psychology. They experience remorse. They experience, buyer's remorse, seller's remorse. They get anxious. So you see the same patterns on securities of different things. And I mean, to me, I know I'm a chart geek, but it's kind of fascinating. And here's our example that we talked about before, right? You make a fast move up going through certain price levels. You spend some time consolidating. You get back to those levels going in the opposite direction. And what happens? You make a fast move back down through them. Because one of the reasons, as we know now, that we get support is because you get remorseful sellers trying to buy things back. When you blast through these price levels really quickly like this, there's just not enough time. There's not a lot of time spent trading at these certain levels where there's going to be this big group of remorseful sellers who are going to be trying to buy back on the way back down. So fast move going one way, you spend some time consolidating, reverse, you go back the other way in the opposite direction, fast move down. You can see it here, fast move up, fast move down. But anyway, so this looks like it's breaking down. So this could be another idea here for puts. Now, if you're going to trade, everyone loves to talk about like what they're buying. Oh, I'm going to buy this. I'm going to buy that. How often do you hear people talk about selling? I'm going to sell it when it gets to this level. I'm going to get to that, sell it when it gets to that level. If you get into a trade, well, let me start again. You shouldn't get into a trade unless you know how you are going to get out of it. You need to have a strategy to exit for a profit, and you should have a strategy to exit for a loss, because the greatest traders in the world have losses. People think that the great traders like the Steve Cohens, Mario Gabelli, people that I've traded for are always right. And that's not the case. They make losses too, or they have losses too.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is they don't have big losses. They get out when the losses are small. Now, if I was to trade this, and full disclosure, I'm not. Sorry. If I was to, like, I would get into this right now as a trade, right? I would buy puts. If we get back above this level that was support, well, that's where I would take my stop out. Be like, all right, you know what? I didn't get this right. I'm just going to take a small loss and I'm going to move on to something else. In terms of what my target would be, as we know, you tend to get support at levels that were resistance before. So here's the trade idea, right? You go short, and I say that generically. I don't mean shorting the stock. I mean buying puts. When you say,
short
you're
exposure, in this case, through puts.
Exactly. And so this, I would say, is a short idea, like a generic short idea, but I don't mean shorting the stock. I mean buying puts. So I would buy, like right now, I'd buy the puts. My target for a profit would be down around 110, a former resistance level. So if we got down to around 110, that's where I close my position and I take my profit. My exit strategy or my stop out strategy would be like, all right, you know what? It looks like it's breaking down, but it reversed and it got back above this 121 level. I'm going to take a small loss and I'm going to move on. So right there, right? The idea is, here's a short idea, because we know when things break support, there's a good chance they go lower. My target for a profit would be a former resistance level. My exit strategy for a small loss would be as if we get back above this level here. So right there, right? We have an idea and we have a clearly defined exit strategy. It's really, really, really important for traders, in my opinion, that you don't get into something if you don't know how you are going to get out of it. Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I know it sounds kind of simple, but a lot of people just buy things and they hope, and hope is not a strategy, right?
Absolutely. We say that on this show all of the time. Have a plan prior to opening the trade. Have an exit plan prior to opening the trade. And hope is not a strategy. Don't trade on hopium is how I refer to it, Mark. So I've been a big fan of that saying. I just kind of modified it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think and I think people like overcomplicate this stuff.
I do too. I'm a huge proponent of keep it simple, the KISS method.
Have a exit strategy for everything in life. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Mark, really awesome stuff. Yet again, just to kind of really quickly recap the stock of the day that you talked about here: J&J, AMD, and what was the first one? It's slipping my mind.
On.
Thank you. ON. So ON, AMD, and J&J. Mark, really, really good stuff. Day Trader saying really good stuff here. Jonathan saying the best advice ever. Love this segment. We're going to keep doing stuff like this on Friday. Really appreciate you changing up and coming in the pre-market when we have some more time here, Mark. Have a great weekend. All right, boss?
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it.
No problem. All right, folks. That is Mark Petrino. He is awesome. And again, we are going to keep doing stuff like this. I hope that you find the lessons valuable. And of course, I hope that you also find some of those stocks valuable. Like I said, he really set the expectations high with Fubo first. All those charts that he just reviewed, they're looking really, really good. So, Mark, departure leaves room for the one and only 13. I'm going to go ahead and bring him on. 13, happy Friday. Good morning. How are you doing, dude? I think you're muted.
Sorry, I just realized I had my mic off. Yeah, I'm doing all right. Just trying to deal with the changes in temperature. It's going to be cold tonight, but should be the coldest that we'll get through this Arctic blast. I just realized how dark it looks in my office. Let me go. Is this fine, or should I just try to go and open the blinds?
That's up to you. Honestly, your picture kind of looks like a cover of like a metal album. It looks like like an album cover almost, with like the darkness behind you, the beard and all that. I'm just kidding around, man. You can do whatever it is that you want. Real good stuff there. Just for some context here, it looks like it is snowing here in Chicago, which is what I love to see. 25 degrees here, so you could send that Arctic blast up here. I would welcome it. I would absolutely.
We got snow in Dallas already.
Yeah, let me tell you something, folks. For all of you that are in, you'll have to actually tell me this. But for all of you that are in Dallas, careful. I saw the North Dallas expressways yesterday covered in snow, and I saw a guy in a Mustang, which is a rear-wheel drive car, driving on the expressway. I've had multiple rear-wheel drive cars, ones that I've built up, and I've lived in Chicago almost my entire life. Let me tell you something. That guy has got some. That guy's brave. Let's put it that way. We'll keep it clean here. That guy is brave. Crazy stuff. Do people in Texas know what to do when the snow falls?
Well, after we freak out and kind of question what all this crap is from the sky, we call Centerpoint and complain to them why our power is not on.
Okay.
No, we're getting better. I mean, ever since the deep freeze we had in 2018, things have gotten better. We haven't had anything like that since then. So we'll hopefully this continues. We've had cold weather before, but nothing like that one year.
Okay. All right. Well, what do you want to take a look at here? Just to kind of quickly recap what's going on. We did have some data here this morning that caused the market to sell off here. As Brandy very astutely noticed, we came really, really close to that 582.30 level that we had both identified. Looks like we've tried to rally from there in the pre-market. U.S. employment data is the reason for this. Where do you want to start, 13? You want to start with the SPY, individual names, movers? Up to you. Call the ball.
Did you already dive into the jobs report?
I basically just read the headline number. I didn't do any deep dive into it. We had Mark on discussing some of the different charts that he was looking at.
Okay, no problem. There's not a whole lot to really get into here. I mean, like the payrolls were much higher than expected. So I really have a lot of question marks popping up above my head. You just can't see them. If you look into the report, of course, we've added another 33,000 government jobs. For an average of 37,000 jobs every month in 2024, which was still down from 2023. I have to think we're going to probably see a lot worse job reports coming up in the future, because I have to think that we're going to be shedding a lot of government jobs.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's, the trend has been there all year, and I think it's about to change.
Yeah, so we got a 4.1% unemployment rate versus the 4.2 estimate, so that's down slightly, but still within the range the Fed has for year end. I think they're looking at 4.3 as the either 4.3 or 4.5 as their higher end, but we're still a ways away from that, and we might not even hit it. But who knows? We've got a whole year ahead of us, folks. We'll have to wait
And real quick here. Sorry to interrupt you there, but Chris, you were asking a question. Is there news on Fubo because it's spiking? Yes, Disney, Fox, and Warner Brothers are calling off the joint sports streaming venture Venue Sports. So WBD, Warner's Brothers, that's down. Walt Disney, that's down slightly, although almost flat. Fox is about flat, but up to the upside a little bit. Fubo, the biggest mover here, up 6%, as you can see here in Pro, as that is moving on that headline. So that's what's going on. Chris, nice mention there. Yeah, that's what's going on here with Fubo.
Could also be a little bit of, no, maybe not relative volume, but definitely momentum. Seems like we're coming up to a bit of a topping out, though. If we can't get above 6 today and trade a little bit higher, this is probably done. But you look at the daily, the RSI is over 90. So be careful with this. We've already got insider selling. Sorry about that. We already got insider selling, so this could be something that comes in before it goes higher. It certainly looks like it needs to.
Okay, and just kind of again looking at that, looking at the market here, we have accelerated to the downside a little bit. S&P futures down just about 1% here. Dow futures down 0.75%, and Nasdaq down over 1%, 1% and 0.2 to the downside. So okay, there we go. You want to do the movers? Want to roll through the movers? All right,
let's roll through the movers. Why not?
Let's do that here real quick. Let me flip over to my movers workspace. Get that all set up. First one that I have here on the list is going to be XHG. And look, I think at this point, given what we were doing here on Wednesday with this one, maybe we'll call this one an ex-girlfriend. This is a relative value move from Wednesday, clearly. Obviously, we were closed yesterday. Today, it looks like XHG pushing right up off that 85-cent level. We did take out $1 here. Looks like $1.66 was the high print here in the pre-market, and I don't see any news on this, any fresh news. So this does look like a relative value move on a stock that we traded on Wednesday. Any thoughts on XHG 13?
I don't even remember what this news was that it moved on. Let me just look at my notes here, see if we wrote anything down about this, because I don't remember what this does.
This was
the China pump.
Yeah, and it does look like there was a Form 4 from last Thursday, but I'm not sure if that's what was in the notes that you had there.
Yeah, I mean, all I wrote in the notes is that it had a 97.6 million share float, no news, and it's a China pump.
Yep.
So it can do whatever it wants, and we'll just trade the volume.
Yeah, I don't see anything else, or I don't see anything new, I should say, here on that. So XHG, that's going to be one of them. Okay, the next one here, we do actually have a piece of news, but I believe this was from yesterday. Yeah?
Actually, let me add one more thing to XHG, because we did talk about, remember when yesterday we talked about how there's going to be some new bill issuances from China in order to stimulate their currency. That's going to happen on January 15th. They're supposed to be adding what was the number? Like $60 billion worth of their RMB into the market to help stabilize the currency and make it harder to short. So that might be pumping some liquidity into some of the China names. So that might be one reason why XHG is moving, but also keep an eye on some of the other China names for that event as well.
I was just going to say, if we see other China names doing something similar here, then we can probably figure that that's the reason for it. Okay, good stuff there, XHG. Next here is going to be VMAR. This is Vision Marine Technology. This was, I think this says reported earlier. I believe this was from Thursday.
Yeah, some news we got over the day off. Yeah.
Yep. So this was from news that we got over the day off here. They are going to partner with Calip Group to produce advanced cooling plates for electric boat batteries. Electric boats. Anyway, stock is up here 45.5%. It is down considerably from its pre-market highs here. We were at 370. 369 maybe in the pre-market here on VMAR. We've lost the VWAP a while ago. Looks like we're hunting for a new support level here on VMAR. What do you got on this one?
Well, if it doesn't get support about here, then I would think that maybe it's somewhere closer to 180, beneath $2. So this is going to be one that we just kind of wait to see what it does. But as far as the stock goes, it's got almost 2.8 million shares in the float. Company does need cash, and I noticed that when I looked at the short interest sheet, it's had about 20% of the float shorted, but 1 day to cover because the float's so small. It's interesting a little bit. I mean, who cares? It's, these plates, high quality plates for electric boat batteries, but we saw electric boats really start to take off when this Ukraine-Russia war began. Ukraine has been making drones that are sending boats with ordnance attached to it, electric drone boats. So we could see this kind of this could be maybe in the future some kind of defense play if they get a contract from them, but that's speculative. As far as the news goes with this, I'm not sure how many electric boats are out there, or if people are really going out to buy up electric boats right now. So I don't know how strong this news really is, but if the stock starts to turn around, given its float nature, we'll try and trade it as best we can. Currently, we're well beneath VWAP, and we need to get back up over 280 in order to get above it.
Yeah, I think the waiting out here, that's really the good thing. You want to take a stab at this, be my guest, but let's wait for this to kind of find some support and turn around. Real quick, I see another mention of this, actually several mentions of this stock in the chat here, XTI, for XTI Aerospace. Guys, be really careful. This thing is an absolute piece of garbage, okay? Just straight up, let's just call it what it is. We saw this recently. First of all, this is doing a split here. See, it's a 250-to-1 reverse split effective today. So this is one of the reasons why you're seeing this on here today. But keep in mind, this stock had absolute just dirty move not long ago. Okay, we had this thing was it was popping to the upside, and then they dumped a $20 million offering. Now they reverse split the stock 250-to-1. I mean, look, if you're going to trade this, have a trade plan for it. This is a piece of junk. Straight up. There's no other way to say it. This is a piece of junk. Be very, very careful trading this one.
Yeah, I don't have anything really.
We covered this. There was someone asking about this. This was like a 20-cent penny stock in the morning a couple of days ago, and in the middle of the session, they released, or at the end of that day, they released an offering and sunk the thing down like 70%. So just know what you're trading, right? Know what you're trading. I don't know what it's going to do. All I know is that its history has been less than stellar, and we're doing a 250-to-1 reverse split. Just be careful.
And this is one of those NASDAQ recompliance plays, which those plays may not have as good a year this year as they did last year.
Yeah, so, agreed.
I just don't know for sure that they will have anything near what they did last year. So keep that in mind. We might not get the same kind of movement with those names because that theme might be leaving the market. So we'll get more information and find out if that's going to be the case. But for now, given how quickly these are happening, where they just do an offering and then immediately reverse split, that is a little concerning how quickly they're trying to execute this.
Good morning, Fairchild. All right, I'm just gonna move to the next one here. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Next one I have on my list is DTIL, Precision Biosciences. Now, this one could get interesting. We do have fresh news here this morning. Precision Biosciences here. Thank you, producer. Partner IE Cure has reported clinical efficacy and safety data in the first patient dosed with one of its drugs in the phase 1 and 2 OTC Hope study. Now that we had news from that yesterday. Today, strong buy recommendations. BMO Capital upgrading Precision Biosciences to outperform and maintaining a price target of 34. The stock is $6.80 right now. Okay. H.C. Wainwright reiterates an existing buy order and moves their price target to 60. Now we know all about Wainwright and their price targets, but it's almost twice as much as the BMO price target. But still, this clearly trading up today on some pretty good data. Stocks up 53%, just about. Let's take a look around the horn at some of the other data here. Short interest, 3.63% of its float shorted, 2.75 days to cover. Be interesting to see what happens on a 50% plus move to the upside here. Share structure here right in our wheelhouse. $7.55 million shares in the float. So 13, what do you think here on DTIL?
this is one of the ones that I'd want to, kind of take a look at their pipeline, see what they've got going on, see the time frames, how far along, because this is news. This is moving off of news after a phase 1-2 data for gene editing, and I think it was tested on an infant. So I mean, I don't have a whole lot of information just because this is the first time I'm taking a look at it. The float, yeah, like you said, right in our Buddha zone. I don't have a whole lot of background on this company. So
I have none. Yeah,
so,
I have none. This is actually kind of a new issue to me here. I haven't really seen this stack before, but I have seen the catalysts that are kind of moving this. I think this one could be in play here today all day.
Possibly. I mean, it looks like they won't need to do any capital raises. They have a lot of cash on hand. They don't lose anywhere near that amount on a quarterly basis. So, it looks financially good, especially for a biotech. But I don't know enough about this company to be like, oh yeah, it's going here, or it's going here. I think this is just something that we watch. If it sets up, we can trade it. But first thing we need to see is recapture of VWAP. We just got a rejection on it on this last 5-minute candle. It looks like it's trying to push through. So once we get above VWAP, this might provide some better trades. But until then, I'll just be watching this and seeing what it does.
Okay. Awesome. Next here is going to be ZVSA. This is Zyversa Therapeutics. We've traded this one a whole bunch here. Looks like this is popping, went above 220 here in the pre-market. I don't have any news on this, so we'll see where this one, what this one ends up doing. We did have some recent news on this. Filing to sell shares. We talked about a JPM Health Conference in 2025 in San Francisco. What was the date of that one? I can't remember. Let's see if it's January 13th through the 16th. So this is going to be next week. Maybe this is a move kind of setting up ahead of next week. I don't know for sure. Just kind of looking at this. We did recently have earnings where it was a beat on the top and the bottom line. A quick look around the horn here. 1.09% of the float shorted and 1 day to cover. Pretty negligible there. 2.5 million shares in the float. So looking at the chart here, we've done a fairly decent job holding this 150 level. We did just get rejected by the VWAP, so similar type deal here. If we can get above the VWAP, maybe those 220 plus pre-market highs come into play. 13, what do you think here? Ticker ZVSA.
I see that they filed to sell 1.64 million shares back in December. I don't know if that ever went through or not because I didn't cover it that much, but they do have 2.5 million shares in the float. It does seem like it's moving on no news, but it may, like you said, there might be some news from previous day that gave, a future date as a potential catalyst. So that's possible as to why it's moving today, but I don't have any good indication as to why it is moving on this morning.
Okay. Well, there you go. We outlined that one for you. I'm going to keep moving on here. Next is going to be MVS. Well, I'm sorry
to interrupt you, but DTIL is trying to break through VWAP again. So if you are a pre-market trader, keep an eye on this one, or see if there's a trade in there for you. But I just wanted to point out that this is starting to get some movement over the VWAP.
Yep, I actually do have it above the VWAP there. Okay, next here is going to be MVST. This is Microvast Holdings. I feel like we've traded this one before here. Yep. Now, Microvast, this is up 34% here. Stock was up 45% earlier. You can see we're off those highs after a breakthrough in true all-solid-state battery technology. So here you go. It's going to be one of those battery plays that we've seen. You're getting a headline here. Stock is up. Same deal, though. We're kind of using the VWAP here as some resistance, so we'll see what we get if we can get back above that. Got the pre-market high here, 287. 280 does kind of look like a level here, so we'll see. You got anything on this one? I guess I should have covered the short interest here. 17.8%, only 1 day to cover, and float 100 million.
That might help move the stock up, but you just pointed out the float is pretty heavy there. So don't know if we're going to get continuation to the upside after the initial market open moves. Company does have cash, so that's a good thing. But the news that we got today was that
let me just stop you. Sorry, apologize, 13. Let me stop you here. I'm going to answer Jesse's question because I suspect we're going to use this term over the next 5 minutes and frankly the rest of the show quite a bit here. So I just want to get this out of the way. Jesse is asking, what the heck is VWAP? Okay, so we've been saying VWAP. That's VWAP, Victor Whiskey Alpha Papa. and it stands for volume weighted average price. Now, if you want to look up how that's calculated, I'll let you do that on your own. The important takeaway here, Jesse, is that on the charts that I'm sharing here on screen, this VWAP is this light blue line that you see here. And one of the reasons that I'm drawing attention to this is because what you're definitely going to see when you're on this show, not only are you going to hear us talking about this, but you are absolutely going to see stocks interacting with this particular level. This is an indicator that you can add in Pro and pretty much anywhere else. In fact, I don't know of any platform that doesn't have a volume weighted average price option. So sorry if we weren't saying it clearly enough, but VWAP, that's what it is, volume weighted average price, and it is visual. It is this light blue line on the charts. Okay, 13. Sorry for interrupting there. I did want to get that out of the way.
No worries. I was pretty much finished up there. I think the last thing I said was regarding the news. It was on a solid state battery breakthrough. So, of course, it's great that we're making progress, but I don't see how that translates into financial returns yet. So it's we'll trade the momentum, but this is not something worth holding quite yet.
Okay, really good stuff. Who is Brian Shannon again? Yeah, of course. Brian Shannon, arguably one of the masters of VWAP and anchored VWAP, friend of Benzinga here. His book is awesome. Been following him for a long time. If you don't follow Brian Shannon, go out there and do that. He is fantastic. Okay, but I digress here. Next on the list is going to be Joe's favorite stock. It's Hollow, YOLO, Jolo. Here we go. So this popped yesterday in the after hours. It did retrace some of that move, but it's holding here, at least so far, in the pre-market. The last piece of news that I have here, actually doesn't even look like this was news. This was from Wednesday. Doesn't really look like there was anything specific here. The other piece of news was a convertible notes offering on Monday on January 6th. So, 13, what do you have here on your personal meme stock?
Who cares? This thing.
I love it. That's the best answer you could have gave. Oh, that's good.
This thing just seems to pump on nothing frequently. So for stuff like this, I would just rely on previous levels that we've identified and the EMAs and VWAP. I would just keep it simple. If you're trying to find reason why something like this is actually taking off, I think that's a fool's errand.
Okay.
Basically, if you see something like this moving and you know what it is and you know that it's one of these junky names that we traded before and you want to try to capture some of the movement, rely on the technicals, and that's about all you've got. So just understand your risk with these.
Okay. Good stuff there on Hollow. Next here is going to be AKYA. This is Akoya Biosciences. I want to say that we've traded this before, but I can't remember or pin down exactly when it was. AKYA looks like this did test 450. Looks like the high print in the pre-market was 449. Stock has really come back in below its VWAP, by the way. AKYA Quanterix. Hope I pronounce that correctly. Quanterix has agreed to acquire Akoya Biosciences in an all-stock transaction. Now, normally, when we talk about mergers and acquisitions, the trade is over, and we mentioned that. This stock here, though, looks like it's still kind of trying to discover a price. Quick look around the horn on all this stuff. Short interest, 6% with 2.91 days to cover. There, not huge, but there. Float, 30 million. 13, what do you think on this one, AKYA?
Well, what is QTRX doing? Isn't that the one that's acquiring the company?
Yes, and that is down 6.3% here this morning.
Yeah, I mean, without any more context about what kind of valuation this is, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the URL to the press release itself.
I'll tell you what. This looks like it's going to 4. It just looks that way. There's a breakout level that it's above, or it's trying to get above. It's like right there right now on it's the highs from early November. And if we get above that, we're going to be filling a gap all the way up to, looks like about 410. So that gap was created back in mid-May of last year. Mm-hmm. So that would be the earliest indication of where this is going. I don't know anything about AKYA or why Quanterix wants to acquire it, but I know you just read the headline, but I didn't cover this one. And just looking at the chart, that would be the first thing that comes that's I can see is that a break over that level I mentioned around 330, 335. That's going to probably take us up to the gap fill.
Okay, now one thing to keep in mind here, I've outlined this. So this is the previous high that we're trying to break out. Now we're right there. Now it is worth noting that we were above this area earlier. We've come back in. So this area does seem to be an important level. You go back to what Mark was just talking about, 20 minutes ago? It is very, very similar type stuff. So, okay, really good stuff there, 13. Good spot there on those levels. We'll see if we get that here, AKYA. Now, next on the list, actually shifted around a little bit. This one is interesting to me. Let's talk about this. This is BAER. I wanted to make sure I didn't screw that up. Bridger Aerospace. Now, there's no news on Bridger Aerospace, but let me show you why this is important. If you take a look, when I was looking at this, no news, trying to figure out what's going on here. Bridger Aerospace Group Holdings operates an aerial firefighting company. Why do you think that's up here today, folks?
Is there a fire somewhere?
I'm not even going to read the rest of this here. We did have some recent news. I guess it's just worth, I guess maybe this isn't even recent. You guys tell me. November, about mid-November, the stock had earnings. Looks like it was a mixed report there. Soared 20% after that beat. Let's see. We have a price target raised to 575 from 525 from Canaccord. Looks like on Wednesday, January 8th, the day before the market was closed here this week, congratulates our founder, Timothy Sheehy, for being sworn in as the United States Senator for the state of Montana. So it looks like the founder of this is actually part of the government. So here, this is an interesting one. BAER, aerial firefighting. This was up a lot more here in the pre-market. Looks like 569. This was up in the after hours on Wednesday. It's been selling off here in the pre-market. So for me, it sure looks like the next thing that we need to do is figure out where this thing can get support. 340. 345, I would say 340 to where we are right now at 350 looks to be one of those areas. VWAP currently at 440 on this. Quick look around the horn, short interest, 4.18% of the float shorted and 6.67 days to cover, so a little bit higher than what we've seen on some of these other ones here. Float 14.37 million. So 13, what do you think here on BAER, Bridger Aerospace?
This is moving on relative volume. On Wednesday, it had some really big moves, and I think that's when we traded it. I might be wrong. I thought we traded this on Wednesday, but it had big volume on Wednesday, so it's being that we were closed yesterday, relative volumes carrying over to today. Now we are extended here with a 77.5 RSI, but if we are going to continue to push up, the first level that I have where we could encounter a lot of resistance is at $4.
Yep. That you know what? I'm sorry for stopping you here, but that actually jumps off the intraday chart as well. I suspect you were looking at the daily, but that level looks clear as day on the intraday as well.
I'm looking at the weekly, actually.
Okay, even better.
Even better. And when you look at the weekly, you can really see how sellers step in heavily when the price gets close to 4 and when it hits 4. There's also a consolidation area from May to from beginning of May to the beginning of July of last year, where it was getting support before it fell through. So that's created a level around 380. And then you also have 385 as another bottoming area from October of 23. So this whole area from about 380 to 4 has a lot of resistance indicators, and you have the 65 weekly EMA right at 401 as well. So $4 is going to be a huge level for this stock to get through. Now, if it does get through that, this could have legs. I say that cautiously. It looks like 5 could be the next big level, but if we do end up trading up with a lot of volume and just blast through 5, this thing is likely going to 640.
Okay. Real good stuff here. This seems to be a timely play here. We'll see if we get any type of bullish moves out of bear, if you weren't confused enough here this morning. Okay. Let's see. Next on the list, BK.
You see that VRME was also moving this morning?
No, but let's just check on that. I actually don't think there's news on any of these other ones. STAI, Zcar. I don't think so. Okay.
We could also talk about some potential plays or sectors to watch for as it relates to the California fire.
Yeah. Yeah, we can definitely let's do that here. Here's VRME. We'll talk about this one, then we can go over and discuss those fires there. What did you want to take a look at here? I know that this on Wednesday we had a huge move there, and it really kind of came back in. That was Wednesday. Oh no, what happened here?
Yeah, it was Wednesday.
Sorry, I lost some of my chart controls there, but
no worries. So yeah, that was a nice breakout, and then it just came right back in and almost closed what I think it was closing flat. But it was a big volume spike, so we might get some relative volume today. We're higher than the close from Wednesday, so that's a good sign. Let's take a look at the smaller time frames here. So we are, just beneath VWAP. At least on my broker, we're just beneath VWAP, and it needs to get back above 190. It looks like, or it's at 190 right now. It needs to get. It seems like there's a big old wall at 192. So we're right about an area where it needs to recapture, somewhere between 190, 195. And if it does that, we could see the other side of twos. But the volume needs to be a lot better than what we're getting. So this would be one that I just wait to see what it does at the open and make my decision from there.
Okay, sounds good. Real quick question. We're getting a question here on Sana Biotechnology. The reason I'm even going to this is because we talked about this one on Wednesday. Jacob here is asking your thought on this one, 13.
Was there news today? It doesn't look like.
No.
It looks like all the news came on Wednesday. So I think that a lot of the big move has already taken place. When we got the news on Wednesday. If anything,
so really quickly, that news came out after hours, and obviously we were closed on Thursday. So that's one of the reasons you're seeing it here today. Also, before you dive into that news, one of the other pieces of news was regarding a conference they're going to present Wednesday. It looks like 9 a.m. Pacific time, Wednesday, January 15th. So again, another conference next week for this one.
Yeah, and then we have, of course, because of all the movement on Wednesday, that created a relative volume play today. So it's we're getting if anything, it's not moving on any news. It's moving on a relative volume. So if we just take a look at our intraday chart, like 5 minutes, we can see that it looks like 540 is potentially a resistance level. We get through that, then it looks like 6 has a lot of resistance. So this thing could run, but I would be careful going into the open because I'm not particularly fond of when stocks rally into the open. It usually means sellers step in right at the open and take profit, but it can sometimes come back. So I'm just going to wait Sana out if there's anything to trade here today, and if it's gets VWAP support, holds up, and looks like it's created a base, then there might be some more upside coming with this.
Okay. Really good stuff there. Okay. A couple of things here real quick. Yes, we will take a quick look at TMDX. You said that they had a short report, so we'll take a look at that here in a sec. But I did want to mention this too. Tracy here. Tracy, this is a heads up spot. PRM. Tracy talking about ticker PRM, Papa Romeo Mary. They sell gel and lubricants for firefighting. So this is another one that is a potential firefighting play. I would say that this is probably a pure play on that. Probably one of the better pure plays, frankly. Solutions provider producing high quality lubricant additives for and firefighting chemicals. So we'll see if this is already up 6.26% here in the pre-market. Tracy, really good mention here on PRM. Okay, I'm going to take a look at the short report here real quick.
We won't have time to go over anything with the fires because we're about to open in a couple minutes.
Yeah, well, we'll be able to talk about it while we're open, I'm assuming, especially if some of those are moving around here. Let me just see what's going on here with TMDX. Looks like this is moving down from 73. So we're down about 10 points here, down about 12%. Who did the short report? Scorpion Capital with a $0 price target.
Okay.
Okay. I'll see if I can find that report, 13, if you want to go just roll through any other stocks here in the 2 minutes that we have.
Okay, so real quick, we had a discussion last night about potential things to watch for, potential plays regarding the fires that are absolutely consuming most of Southern California. It's absolutely tragic. but there's going to end up being a lot of money going towards rebuilding and taking care of all the different problems that it's going to have out there as a result of this. So first thing to keep an eye on is going to be housing the displaced. That means RVs, mobile homes, hotels, and Airbnb, which are already all being tapped to provide shelter to the families who have lost their homes. Those could end up having a pretty good time with the upside here with regard to the fires. Another one is the rich raising money. This was a very hard hit area of wealthy people, the Pacific Palisades and Malibu and different parts of Hollywood. So there's a thought here that if they likely hold a lot of high profile stocks and Bitcoin. So Mag 7 and Bitcoin could end up seeing some selling as they try to raise capital to rebuild. Another thing, clearing the debris from all this. So CAT and waste management, WM, those are going to be interesting plays. There's going to be rebuilding plays as well. So DHI, which is DR Horton, Toll Brothers, TOL, Home Depot, Lowe's. Even take a look at the wood ETF, WOOD. That is starting to get some attention. So those are different things that could be used towards rebuilding. We have 10 seconds here.
Really quickly, Home Depot and Lowe's, two of my favorite plays there. Lowe's right at the 200-day.
We're open.
Right
We can talk more about that later, but we're open. So just keep an eye on some of those things that may have a positive impact as a result of the fires. All right, what's moving here? XHG, that has popped. This is the junky China pump name that we were talking about on Wednesday. This one is high as 308. So that would be an upside target. First, it needs to get above 250, which is a clear resistance area. Hollow down lower at the open. DTIL trying to push up over VWAP. Let's see if this guy gets an actual close above VWAP this time. And if it does, maybe it takes us up to the pre-market high of 807.
All right, here is your DTIL. This actually looks like this was trying to break out right there.
Certainly is trying to. Yeah, just kind of. It might be one of those days because I didn't see a single 100% runner this morning. So I don't know if we're going to get the greatest of days. I think we're going to have this fire incident really weigh on markets because there's a lot that's been destroyed, and California is a very big part of the nation's economy.
GDP, yeah. XHG, this is up 133% off that pre-market low that was under $1. This thing's right above $2, so that's going to be the only one that looks to be a 100% runner, at least so far here today. That's pulling back here, trying to hold on to 2 as we speak, by the way.
DTIL lost that VWAP. Hollow, this thing is getting hammered. Looks like all the names that we were just covering, they're all trading beneath their VWAPs. We just got to be a little bit patient, wait for the buyers to step in. Kit may be trying today. This is Crimp Biscuit.
I just keep calling him Crimp Biscuit. It's way too hard ever since he changed it.
No problem. So Kit coming up to the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. I have that at 337. Have a level here at there's a resistance at between 345 and 350. So there's a potential level to watch for. And you can see from Wednesday, we kind of lost that level after the open, traded back up to that level, that area, and got rejected again. So 350 is going to be an interesting area to watch for if we get the upside.
TMDX, the short report on Transmedics here. This is actually trying to bounce right here out of the open. See if that gets any more juice there, but it is trying to bounce here earlier. VMAR getting mentioned by the chat.
Looks like DTIL is trying to push up higher. It's got a wall at 730. It needs to get through, but so far not looking too bad.
That really turned around quick, didn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of whipping around. So you just have to be careful with this one. It's up. It's beneath its VWAP. It's above its VWAP, and we're still just within the first 5 minutes of trading here. So
Stay focused. Good morning. Great to see you. Asking if WBA is in play here. That's, of course, Walgreens Boots Alliance. Yes, absolutely it is. Look at the huge move it's made in the pre-market here. Shares are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q1 financial results. The last time we were talking about this, we were talking about how sad it was. Looked like it was going out of business. At least the chart was. Big move up here in WBA. This is actually above the pre-market highs right now. This is a little extended from the VWAP. So as far as a intraday trade here that I'd be looking to kind of load this at VWAP for a trade. No position for me on WBA. And despite my Chicago ties, no longer swing position on this either. We do look like we're kind of at a bottom. So if you're bullish on this, potential gap fill here from 12 3/4 up to 15. So watch that one.
Does it not have some pretty high short interest as well?
I bet it does, because we were talking about all the bad news that this one was going through here. Let's take a look. Short interest, 13.39% of the float shorted, 3 days to cover there, ticker WBA.
Slightly squeezy. VRME, this had a good move up to the pre-market. Well, there's some resistance at 220, but the pre-market highs are 233. Looking for a break over 225 to take us up to the pre-market highs and beyond.
Here we go. Good call on that one. VRME setting up here.
Now, hopefully we don't get a triple top, because that's what these first two, these earlier candles in the pre-market could set up to do. We need to really get above 225, or else that's likely what we might end up with here.
And there's a little bit of size there sitting at 225 on the offer, but not a whole lot. Nothing that this stock can't take out on a little bit of a move there. Here we go. The 225 test is on now, 13. Let's see what happens here. Let's see if it breaks and moves higher.
We just need better volume than this. We need a little bit more volume to get through all that. That's we're not going to get it with. Well,
there it goes.
There we go.
230. 230 has about the same size there. Well, there was nothing. I mean, you were right. It needed the volume. It just came in all at once, as opposed to trickling in there and hitting it. It came all at once. So pop here, VRME. It looks like this is trying to go higher here.
Yep, trying to get to that 233. It's above it, and it looks like 243 is the next level to push through. Okay. They're starting to bring in some sell orders, so see if those get chewed up, or if they pull the market, or they pull this stock down somewhere. But nice move out of through that at 220 area.
All right,
and it's going.
Sweet. It is going. Let's see if it stops here at 250.
All right, let's see here.
Let's consolidate a little bit. I'm going to take a look at XHG. This pulled back. Looks like that bounced at the VWAP. So there you go, folks. Pulled right back down to the VWAP. VMAR getting mentioned by Jacob here. This did come up off the bottom right to the VWAP. There we go. So that trade idea, that ended up happening. Around here and see what else I see. See what else I see. That's some brilliant stuff right there.
That DTIL, man, it is just having a time, and with its VWAP. I don't know that I'd want to get into this until I actually get some clarity on which direction it's going to choose, because these are neutral candles that we've been getting so far with this one this morning.
BAER, Bridger Aerospace. This actually came back in a little bit. Here's your DTIL. Sorry, I didn't have that one earlier.
No worries. Santa upper shadows telling you this thing was not looking great. Might get some support here, because this is a bit of a demand zone that it's trading down into. But if it loses like 465, I've got to think that we might end up seeing 430.
Someone mentioned GRYP earlier. This is Griffin Digital Mining. This is a penny stock that was running in the pre-market. It's given back pretty much all its gains. It's almost completely round-tripped there. I can't remember who this was, but this was mentioned earlier here. Also worth mentioning, Delta, ticker DAL. This a potential gap and go here. Delta reported earnings here this morning. They were pretty good too. Let's see. Delta Q4 EPS 185 beat the 176 estimate. Sales 14.43 billion beat the 14.21 estimate. And I believe that there was other notes there about just spending being up in a bunch of the different segments. Projects EPS to be 735 plus for 2025 and reported a record December quarter. Delta up 9.3% here. And actually, if you look at the chart here this morning, we look like we might be trying to take out that pre-market high 67.50. We'll see here, ticker DAL, Delta.
VMAR just had a nice spike up through VWAP. Now we need to see it hold. Getting rejected at $3, which if you look at the pre-market, that was sort of the neckline of this head and shoulders that we were forming here. So trying to get through $3 is it's a big importance to VMAR. That'll determine how much higher we go. We can't get above 3, probably going to go back down beneath VWAP.
ZVSA, this was another one from our list, has really struggled to get above the VWAP there. Again, it was rejected in the pre-market, and again, right here out of the open. Another stock here, Constellation Energy. This is ticker CEG. This looks like a 300 test coming here on Constellation. Constellation to acquire Calpine creates America's leading producer for clean and reliable energy to meet the growing demand for customers and communities. So it looks like Constellation will acquire Calpine in a cash and stock transaction valued at an equity purchase price of approximately $16.4 billion. So $26.6 billion deal there for Calpine, ticker CEG. Didn't Anne-Marie just give am I mixing this up with a different one? I think Anne-Marie just gave a butterfly on this one. 300 possible here.
I do not remember. XHG now beneath its VWAP. DTIL really coming down. Looks like $6 might be the next support area. Hollow, lower, I'll just say. AKYA also down, right through its 200 EMA on the 5-minute. Bayer, BAER, getting some support around 330, trying to get back up through the 65 EMA and on its way to VWAP. I have VWAP at 415.
Okay.
VRME, this might be finding a top, at least a near-term one. VWAP I have at 232. So if we do see some weakness, we'd be looking for VWAP to kind of provide support.
Izzy mentioning Uber here. Let's take a look. I actually haven't looked at Uber here. Uber up 1.25% here. Actually, new highs here on Uber.
Kit moving up. Hoth breaking out. And VMAR finding support from VWAP after a little bit of a drop there. Maybe with some continued support from VWAP, the price gets lifted up through the $3 resistance area and is allowed to go higher.
LAES halted to the upside here.
Nice. Looks like
$6, 602 there. Hollow, huh? Okay.
It's trying to turn around and get back above VWAP. I'm just going to briefly mention that. MVST getting support from VWAP. We're going to, both want to see this hold up here, because if it does, then we can go on and try and move above 287, which is the intraday high. Pre-market high on this one is 334.
DTIL continuing to pull here after that move above VWAP, right down to 6. Definitely has some support there at 6. Watch out if that breaks, though. CEG, by the way, this Constellation Energy, this is almost at its average volume, 93% of its average volume already. We've been open for 11 minutes.
VMAR trying 3 again. Really having a hard time with 3. But, volume isn't too bad. If it continues to expand, could take out 3 and go higher. So
okay.
That's what I'm waiting for with VMAR.
Tony mentioning a big bounce here on RCAT. Danny, I know you were asking about this earlier. We didn't go to it. This did pull here to 11 and bounce to 40 cents already. I still think that some of these high flyers that you saw recently probably on the downside move here until we get some other type of news. I don't really think that's terrible either. I mean, ONDS going through the same thing.
Well, we're getting some more upside in VMAR now. Looking pretty good. Still expect there to be a little bit of a hard journey for it to get through the pre-market price action. But once we get past 368, which is the pre-market high, let's see where this goes. Give me a second here.
Someone was asking earlier about Bank of America. There was apparently a fire or something.
Oh yeah, one of their branches burned in the California fire.
Yeah, so a couple of things here. So number one, I used to work for a Bank of America, and I worked in a banking center that had to get closed. I can't remember if it was for a fire or a flood or something. They they have so many of these. I don't think, I don't think that that's necessarily going to have an impact on the stock long term. I think that was the question that we got earlier. How much of an impact would that be? I don't really think it would be much.
VMAR really starting to move now. Looking for that 368. If we take that out, I think 5 could be the next target, and then after that, hold on, what I just see there. After that, 6, somewhere between 615 and 620.
Also, real quickly here on VMAR, it does look like that 350 area coming. We'll see if that ends up getting taken out here.
Okay, what else is? Oh wow, XHG. That's really starting to pull down. This may continue to move downwards. MACD's starting to indicate that there's some more weakness ahead.
Kit just took out its pre-market highs to the upside, so it looks like Night Rider's back. 13.
Oh hell yes.
Be careful, bro. That's actually not bad. Walgreens Boots Alliance continuing to trade higher here.
That's
WBA.
Kit looks like there might be some resistance somewhere between 385 and 395, but if we get through that, 450 would be a upside target of mine.
Yeah, I still would be looking for some resistance there at 4 as well. Hoth, you had mentioned that's spiking. That's at the intraday highs here.
Probably headed to 250 here in a bit.
Okay, 285 would be another spot. I've got the intraday high from Wednesday at 280. VRME looks like this pulled off of its recent pump to the highs there.
That was
Netflix
nice.
Really sinking here. Apple lower, Amazon lower. So it looks like big cap tech pulling here.
You mean all the Mag 7s that likely could get sold because rich people need to raise money because their homes are burned down?
Silicon Valley people.
Sorry if that was a little loaded, but that's what that's what we were talking about. I'm sure all those folks, those wealthy folks in Pacific Palisades, Malibu, and surrounding areas, I'm sure they need the money, or at least are going to start reducing some of their holdings in order to raise money.
Yeah, SMSI popped into a halt. Really quickly, we've talked about some strategy. If you need money, what you can do, especially if you're a big holder, why not sell some upside calls against some of that stock, right? Collect that money. If the stock breaks down, you don't have to pay it back. If it does trade up, it liquidates the stock that you have, which you were going to do anyway. So I think there's some other ways to kind of go about that, but I'm just spitballing here. Obviously, when you're in a time of crisis, you're not thinking about stuff like that.
VMRE is trying to push up again. Intraday high is 268, and it's trying to push up to that level again. Currently above VWAP right now, so we'll see if we can get that. Let's see what else is going on here with these movers.
AIMD, this is a penny stock that's trying to flirt with dollar territory. AIMD, it's doing it on some intraday volume here. Didn't really have anything in the pre-market, so I guess that's notable. DATS, this looks like this sold that entire move that it had here in the pre-market. And Rich Tech Robotics, so more robotic stocks trading higher here. This was actually lower in the pre-market, volume ripping this above the pre-market highs. Where are we in terms of, okay, so we are pretty much right back to where we opened up on Wednesday, ticker RR.
Lion Atlas, I see you are still mentioning EIX, and I'm glad that you're killing it with that. One thing to be aware of is that this company may not have any sort of liability as it pertains to these California fires, because state of California has a wildfire fund. There was an assembly bill that they passed that basically protects Edison from having to recoup any losses from somebody that has had a fire burn their home down. So there's some protections here for Edison, and I think this may end up being viewed as a completely oversold move in the stock. So this could end up being a pretty good call.
First of all, the initial call that you made, just to be clear here, because things happen fast. The initial call here was when this thing was right here. Okay. It was almost $78 when it punched through the 200-day to the downside. So since then, we've got almost 11 points of movement. So that trade worked. So now you're talking about this maybe potentially setting back up. Here's my question. Now that we're starting to find more and more evidence that arson played a role in these fires, what does that actually mean for EIX here? Do you know offhand?
Well, I mean, if the liability is going to shift over to the criminals, that's always good news for EIX.
Well, that's what I'm thinking here. So we've already started to see some of that news. It's a fluid situation. I expect to see more as time goes on, but I think that kind of folds into the long side plan here, because you were just talking about this really kind of move into the downside here. Maybe it firms up around here. Next trade might actually be a long on this.
Right. And, this is the only really big downside at this point, because if they're not going to have any liability or need to take liability towards these fires, then the only real downside that I see here is going to be lost revenue, because there's a bunch of homes now that aren't generating income for this company. So that would be the big downside here. But looking at the daily chart, we're at 14.4 RSI. That's exceptionally low for relative.
Well said. Very, very well said.
So I think that there's going to be, we are rebounding a little bit here because we're well off the lows by about $2. But I still think that this could continue to trade back up as more info comes out about how much liability Edison's going to have to undertake with regard to the fires. And I don't.
If you don't have a position now, absolutely put that on your watch list, because this news flow, it ain't going away. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that much.
Hey, keep killing it, man. I don't think I need to tell you anything more, but I'm glad this is on your radar. And then I had another question about CMCT exposure.
You want to take that?
So Creative Media and Community Trust Corporation is what I believe he's asking about. This is an office REIT. Let me think about this here for a second.
Yeah, I mean, it looks rough. Chart looks real rough. You let me know if you come up with anything on that here. I'm going to keep looking at what's going on. eBay, by the way, someone was asking earlier this week about what does it mean for eBay and the deal with Facebook that we saw earlier with eBay's marketplace is kind of going to be in Facebook and all that. Did just see a pretty unusual transaction there. It looks like those are some 68 calls getting bought into this down move. We popped initially on that news. Looks like the high we put in there was $71. We've pulled off of that. This has kind of moved with the market. I am seeing some unusual and aggressive option buying in the 68 call that expires, I think next week, that is. So anyway, just saw that come across the wire. Figured I'd comment there on eBay.
I guess the question here is this kind of like related to the fires thing, because this is I maybe could see that angle with CMCT. Their balance sheet doesn't look bad. I mean, they've got decent amount of cash. They got $68 million in debt that's due this within the next 12 months. So they're going to have to, I don't know exactly how they're going to deal with that with the amount of money they have on hand right now. But they did just do a reverse split, so that helped bring their float beneath 10 million shares. I'll tell you what. Keep an eye on this one. Just keep it on your radar, because this does seem interesting. I'm looking at the daily chart, and this thing has just done nothing but go down since pretty much its inception. There's a huge drop from prior to the pandemic, and it just never recovered. I need to see more evidence of a bottom, personally, and because it still looks like it could go lower. But if we recapture $1 and hold above that for several days, that could be a good indicator that this is starting to try to turn around. But as of right now, I don't know what's really here with this one. It's just slightly interesting. I'm not sure about office REITs right now. I have there's two sides to my thoughts on that, and one's good and one's bad, but I just don't know. I'm sorry I can't give you more on this one, but definitely keep this on your radar. It could be interesting.
VMAR looks like that might be trying to go for that 350 level that we've covered before, or that we covered earlier here. VRME still holding up near the highs. Watch 260 on that move.
VMAR at this point looks like one to be very cautious about, and maybe even raise your stops for, because it's starting to print those upper shadows that you do not want to see toward the end of a rally. That can be an indication that this is starting to turn around and go lower. So let's just see what it does. But with this current 5-minute candle, we've got about 1:50 left on it. If we get another set of upper shadows with that one, then this, I would be very, very careful. I'd be raising my stop. I'd be trying to protect myself from any immediate downside that this could have through the VWAP. Okay. Just because it doesn't look great right now.
SMSI, this resumed after its halt. This came back in. I used to trade that back in the day. Took a loss on that one. Delta calls. We talked about that. That actually did take out the pre-market high. How about that there on Delta? Now we're seeing some call buying come in. 63 calls expires today. Oh, those are 0 DTE calls. Sorry. CEG still flirting with that 300 level. XHG, this is coming all the way back in.
Hollow recovered, still trying to get above some of these larger EMAs, the 65 and the 200 on the 5-minute. But we get some more expansion in volume. We could push up through the 280 area, where the top of that pre-market, well, at least that some of the pre-market consolidation. Actually, no, it is all the pre-market consolidation.
Right in here, 280. Mm-hmm.
So here's VMAR trying to make one last push into the 30.
Be right back, 13, 1 second.
No problem. So we got VMAR trying to push one last time here. Now, if this does not work, it could come back in pretty hard. We have 368 as the pre-market high. We need to get above that level and close above that level. Otherwise, this could come back in and could be done for a little bit. MVST is trying to recapture VWAP. ZVSA fell to the 200 EMA and is getting support, trying to turn around. I need to see more recovery than this because it still looks like it could go lower. XHG still hasn't shown any bottoming yet. DTIL appears to be curling. It's actually getting a little bit of support from the pre-market lows. Actually, yeah, the pre-market lows. Hollow pushing up through those EMAs I mentioned. Now we need to see it get above 280. What else are we looking at here? VMAR, you said VMAR pushing up. Did everyone forget about Chipotle CMG? Well, I think after the split, everybody kind of did forget a little bit about it, it seems. We are beneath the 200-day SMA on this one. But it does look like the RSI is so low that it could experience a brief bounce. So that's something to watch for with CMG. Is there's a short-term recovery looking to happen there.
Chipotle, huh?
Mm-hmm. Somebody was asking about that, so I said, "Oh, why not? Let's take a look at it."
Good idea. Had it for lunch yesterday.
Look at this with VMAR. We ended up pushing through that 368 level and got as high as 386. Now we want to see it hold above that 368. We'll get some more upside. Let me see if what other levels we have here.
Hey, real quick, while you're doing that, look, I told you guys earlier, this XTIA was a piece of junk. I told you to be careful because we saw some of the, just kind of the dirty action here. This thing, 250 to 1 reverse split. Jay Rice, actually, you might be interested in this. This gives off Mullen vibes, to be quite honest with you. And I mean, look at this thing. This thing, reverse split, we were looking at this at what, 12? We didn't even look at it when it was $12. It was an 11 handle by the time we got around to this. This thing is $6. This thing is down 52% after a reverse split. It is an absolute piece of junk. I hope nobody got hurt on this. I did everything I could to mention that this was risky earlier here today. So
you can lead a horse to water, Ryan.
Yep. I just don't want to see people get hurt. I can't promise I'm gonna help you become a millionaire or anything like that. But my God, I can recognize when some things are clearly amok and try and stop people from getting hurt by that. So
VMAR could not hold above the 368. We're coming back in, hopefully, for more upside. We get some support around here, around 330 or somewhere between 330 and VWAP, which I have at 315.
TXMD, by the way, looks like it's holding, TMDX, I beg your pardon, TMDX, the short report stock that we talked about earlier, right around the open there. Transmedics looks like this is holding down here around $62. It's not breaking down any further. Short report on this one, driving it lower. AMD is the advanced money destroyer. Or Alpha with the jokes this morning. How about AIMD?
Oh, it has AI in the name.
AI in the name. Kit, this did pull back to the VWAP. It's actually holding right at the VWAP right now. VMAR continuing to come in. Yeah, I don't see it on the scanner here.
Yeah, I mean, meaning it's falling.
It's coming in. Matterport trying to bounce 470.
470.
470 was the area it bounced off of. Matterport, MTTR.
What's the news on that one?
This is down 3.5% here. Is there any news? No, I don't see anything on this one. Just trying to bounce off that down move there. Smoke Tuna, I'm with you. I don't see a whole lot of good setups at all here today.
No, and we kind of anticipated this with what's going on in California. That's going to weigh on the market. I know it might not seem like it, but it certainly is. It's a very big event.
No question. This is the largest fire in California history, right? Damage wise, or something, or also acreage wise.
Well, yes, and the sad thing is that prior to this, the biggest one was it's more natural of a disaster than this one. This one appears to be arson.
Yeah.
And the last biggest one they had, I'm sure you'll remember, it was the camp fire in 2018.
Yeah,
that destroyed that whole town.
Santa Rosa, is that am I getting that right?
Camp. No, it was camp.
Camp. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It was. Let's see. I'm trying to think because I think there may have been Santa Rosa fire at some point. But anyway. VRME. This one looks like it's trying to take the next move up here. We need to see a little bit better volume, but it looks like it's trying to take out the intraday high of 268. Just a little bit slow right now.
Real quick, PRM, the pure play that we talked about for the gels and the other fire retardant chemicals and the fire extinguishing chemicals here. This stock still doing well, holding higher here, 7.3%. Actually looks like it might try to go to some of those pre-market highs. Volume not impressive on this name, so factor that in. But it does look like this is doing pretty well here today. Market breadth, terrible, by the way. SPY at the lows here. SPY at the lows here. I got for every one stock that's up in the S&P 500, 3.13 are down. So 3-1 on the breadth to the downside on SPY, 8.5-1 to the downside on the Dow, and 2-1 downside on the Qs. 3.5-1 downside on the Russell 2000.
Geez, looking at the SPY chart on the daily, this is not looking great.
No.
I mean, there's the only bull case I really see is a potential triple bottom, but I don't even know if I'd want to lean on that.
We talked earlier, just really quickly. We talked earlier about the 582.30 level. It was Brandy, had mentioned that this had come into the level that I had mentioned earlier that week. Well, look what happened here. We tested it again, and when we lost it, bang, plunge to the lows. More new lows here being set as we continue to break this down. Here you go, 13. Here's your daily chart. We're right at the 100.
Yeah, the fantastic thing about the 582.30, this was such an interesting level because we identified it back in October because this was the October 16th and 17th close, and those 2 days were wildly different from each other. So when I found it interesting that we closed pretty much at the same level, 582.30, I was like, that's going to be a level. Sure enough, that was a pretty big resistance level up until the election. And we broke out.
Lot of red arrows across the board. Everything on the lows. Bitcoin on the lows. Amazon on the lows. Apple, Netflix, Costco, despite the good news. Goldman Sachs, Tesla, everything pulling here, folks. VIX at a high 1977 that actually eclipses the high from Wednesday. Not a good morning for bulls here today.
Well, there goes VMRE, so that worked. I don't know how much we're going to get out of this, but let me see if I can figure out where this is going. I It might be a while before it gets there. But 430 could be a potential spot if we if this has legs. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of consolidation between 280 and 360. So if it can chew through that, it looks like 430 would be the target. So
Sebastian Faloona, you're a great guy besides the flush now. Okay, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to take that, but okay. Appreciate the nice words. I evidently S&P future is really sinking here now, down 1.6%.
350 also for VME could be, that's the high from Wednesday. That could be another area as well. So lots of different levels here for VRME, but I was just waiting for that break to the upside. That was it doesn't matter what happens next. That was all I was looking for.
Bitcoin trying to bounce here. Man, everything is pulling here. Everything looks the same. Everything looks bad.
All is lost.
Well, I don't want to do that.
I'm just messing.
The graph saying, do you see Tesla recovering above 400? Unless something changes here today, I don't see that. No.
1 second. Let me just take a look at something.
I mean, that would have to not only go red green, but it would have to go higher.
Well, in 19 days, they report earnings. So that's about the next big catalyst that I can see in the future for them. Let me take a look at their chart here. No, because we were talking about how they needed to recapture that 20-day SMA, and it has not been able to do that. So 50-day SMA, that's where I would be looking towards. That should be 365.
365 and Replay Game Lab here. I want to say this as well. Replay Game Lab here saying this is a healthy pullback. Honestly, I feel that same way. I'm trying not to freak out about a down move here in the market, especially after waiting for one for so long.
I'm welcoming this with open arms. This is something that I've been pounding the table for. I mean, you folks have been.
We both have, yeah.
We've been talking about this pretty much all last year. Like we needed to make this corrective move. Unfortunately, if we get to 578, that's only a 5% pullback. I think we need to correct more.
More than that, yeah.
We're in my opinion, and I don't want to scare anybody, but if we are going to correct and actually get a 10% or more correction, we're going to see prices under 550 in the SPY. So don't worry, don't be scared. Just understand that that's what's going to happen if we do end up with a correction. And then the market can have all the dip buyers unleash and come back in. I mean, January is probably going to be a rough month. Let's just make sure that that's understood.
And then the question after that is, as January goes, so too does the rest of the year.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, we've seen a lot of that. There's been a lot of talk. We actually talked with Jeffrey Hirsch about that. Stock Traders Almanac. A lot of the times, especially in January, sometimes first half of the day on January leads to what does January look at, and then January, if that's down, maybe the whole year is down. So we'll see where we go here this year. Honestly, though, we could really use a pullback in a lot of these different assets. And Uber, Izzy, you had mentioned Uber is still green. Uber is about to go green to red. So just because this was green early, here we go. It just flashed red on my screen. Sorry, I wasn't quick enough to call that.
Wes, make some snow angels, buddy. And ponder your decisions. But yeah, this is weakness we were looking for, and it could be prolonged. SPY was, we were getting that indication of a head and shoulders. We're resolving it now. And
I think the thing to do when you see stuff like this is to not panic, right? Not have knee-jerk reactions to a lot of this.
So at this stage, we're just shy of 5%. Let's see here. Where do we end up going?
Buy strong stocks in weak markets. Amen to that. And 13 and I have talked about that a lot. It's always worth having your shopping list ready for high quality companies that you have a longer term view on. Add those on weakness, right? Don't chase performance. Instead, add those on weakness.
Getting mentioned from a couple folks here, Zabev and Jacob, that AKYA is pushing up off of its 200 EMA and trying to get through the 65 EMA, which right on, the price is right on that right now. There is some pre-market consolidation it also has to contend with. That's going to be from about 320 to about 350. And once we get through that, then you have VWAP above it, which is at 369. Those are your upside resistance areas. We chew through those. We're looking at pre-market highs of 448 to take out next.
VIX, more new highs on the VIX.
Well, the VIX can end up being a pretty good short sometime next week. As I imagine that'll come back in as it usually does after a volatile day.
That's sure what we've seen recently too on those VIX spikes. NVIDIA mentioned here, NVIDIA, wait for 125 to buy more. Be honest with you, I'm waiting a little bit more. I would say 120. I really want this to be at that 200 day. Really, really want this to be at the 200 day. I would add it. I would try it there.
Yeah, some time ago I marked off 117. That, you know, in the past version of me believes that was a very important level, so that's why I have it on there. It's below the 200-day SMA, but we've seen plenty of times where the price kind of falls right through the 200-day SMA and gets to a certain point and then recaptures it later in the day. So I still like 117. It could be, you know, one of those extended levels to the downside. Looks like XHG is trying to turn around here. VWAP is at 176, and it is trying to make its way through 150. Hollow not looking great. AKYA getting a little bit of a pull here. It ran into that resistance at 320 and turned around. So already seeing that indication of 320 being a little bit of a tough spot for AKYA to get through. Get enough volume expansion, we're pushing through it. But we need to see that volume expansion. So keep an eye on the volume for AKYA. That'll tell you if it's going to get through that consolidation or not.
Let me go back to the main workspace here.
VRME has so far been one of the better ones today. This one may end up going to 350, but it might take a little time to get up there.
We'll see. VMRE, I think you're going to get a test there at 3. You're going to get something there at 3.
Mm-hmm. Sure looks that way.
Yeah, it sure looks like it. Yep. And Bitcoin, there we go. New lows now on Bitcoin. We mentioned that as that was approaching the lows, that it was down there near it. New lows now on Bitcoin.
Okay, well, it's certainly going to want to hold 92,750, otherwise lower it goes.
And then the longer term view that we had on that, let me bring up my crypto chart that I have here. We do have a support area in here. Let me go back to my daily. Here we go. So here's the support area that we're kind of looking at, and look at that, folks. That head and shoulders. Look at that. We drew this preemptively to see if the price would kind of fill into that, and it sure looks like it has.
I really do like 80K in BTC.
Izzy, yes, I have made one today. I've made one scalp on VRME, and that is it. Otherwise, I don't see a whole lot of good setups. I see the entire market really pounding the lows, and not just the SPY, right? All of the indices, Bitcoin as well. So I've only made one here today. It was lunch money, my man. Nothing really to be proud of in terms of booked trades here today.
Lionel's,
other than a 1 for 1.
Lionel's saying, so I'm thinking after Trump inauguration, the market will take off. There's still some things that I think need to get out of the way after that before we see a market recovery. And here's a couple of them. You have the FOMC meeting that's going to be on the 29th and 30th, I believe. You also have some of the big reports, GDP, PCE, that are also coming out before the end of the month. I think once we get past some of those, especially the FOMC meeting, and get into February, we might have a better time in February. That would be my thinking, because I still think that there's some other things that could potentially pull down the market in January.
And then, I mean, we're starting bank earnings next week, but I mean, this earnings season might be something we have to watch as
That's
well.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, but that starts before the Trump inauguration. So but yes, you're right. We're going to get that all through the rest of January. We have some big currency injection coming from China on the 15th. So there's going to be January is going to be a wild month. That's where I'm leaving it at. It's just going to be crazy. We're going to try and trade it, and we're going to be careful at the same time because we don't want to get hurt at the start of the year. So BRME pushed up to 311, and now it's getting a little bit of a pull back towards the VWAP. Should we hold at the VWAP and consolidate? That would mean that we are trying to gear up for another push up higher in BRME. So let's see if we get that. Right now, it's just making its way to the VWAP right now, downwards. AKYA, this was a pretty good call. It hasn't been able to get back and hold above its 65 EMA quite yet, but it's not breaking down either. So let's see if it can get back up above that 65 EMA and hold, and then deal with the consolidation from pre-market before it gets up to the VWAP.
Okay. AKYA.
And BST trying to push through the VWAP again. A lot of these don't have great volume right now, so you got to temper expectations with how some of these could potentially move. Wow, SPY lost 5.8.
I'm telling you, it continues to pull here. It continues to pull.
Mm-hmm. This could be a rough Friday. I don't want to make any wild predictions, but I'll just say that if this does end up going to like 570 today, I don't necessarily think I'd be that surprised, but I would be shocked if we, if we went, down into lower than 560. I'd be absolutely shocked. I think that'd be a huge move for one day. Not that it couldn't happen. We saw similar stuff with during COVID. MBST, here we go, trying to get back above that VWAP. Still need the volume, but it's trying to make the move. If it does get it back above VWAP, but it doesn't have the volume, I don't really see it going higher than maybe 270, 273.
Sorry, just looking at something on my other screen. Give me one sec here.
Hey, Izzy, that's not a bad idea whatsoever. Sitting on hands days, guys. Yeah, I mean, this is something where it looks like it could be good. You get into it, and then as soon as you do, you realize, you know what? I probably shouldn't have done that. This is not a bad day to maybe just watch the market, see what happens. I don't want to discourage anybody from trading, but let's at the very least, just exercise extra caution on a day like this. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, Anthony. Jacob asking me thoughts on CGBS. I don't know if I like a company that ends with BS. Okay, here we go. So let's take a look at this. Daily doesn't look too bad, like it's trying to recover. Where did this come from? This IPO not that long ago, it appears, last July. What is this? Oh, it's like a natural gas company. Okay. Well, I think haven't we seen natural gas prices on the rise lately?
Yes, we did. We did, but here, sorry. And again, I'm going to finish up what I'm trying to do here on the side.
Okay.
I'm really, really sorry about this. Natural gas it pulled off the highs, but today it's actually higher given all of that. So the recent high that we put in here on the actual commodity itself, 422. Current price on natural gas right now, 391, and 397 was your intraday high here.
So as far as CGBS goes, this fits into the natural gas theme we've discussed before. Here are some potential problems with it. Doesn't look like it really has a lot of cash on the balance sheet at all. So I imagine they're going to have to do a capital raise at some point. Let's take a look and see if they've made any other offerings lately. They have not. Their splits non-existent, which I think they're going to have to do given that their float is 440 million shares. So here we have a potential company that needs to raise capital, that needs to reverse split, because it could be at a point, because it's very near $1, and it was under $1 earlier this morning, where could be one of those NASDAQ compliance plays. So I'll say that this is right within that natural gas theme, but I think the structure of the company needs some work first. It needs to raise cash, needs to reverse split. This thing could absolutely take off much better if it does that, because I don't know that we're going to get a whole lot out of 440 million shares. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And VST still looking pretty good. Sorry.
VMAR looks like that is trying to recapture the VWAP, just not strong enough to do that after that recent pull down. DTIL, this continues to set more new lows. This thing has not been strong since we opened. Walgreens Boots Alliance, the opposite, right up near the highs. This actually looks like this is trying to go higher. WBA, 25% up move here. Insane. Big move for Walgreens. BAER, that aerial firefighting play, looks like that's grounded. DVSA, this is popping, maybe going for the VWAP. DATS move through the VWAP. Watch that 450 high area on DATS. Gets there.
So, okay, we were talking about how we might see some rotation into some more defensive stock plays. And by defensive, I mean industrials, consumer defensive, utilities, things of that nature. Walgreens is a consumer staples. So that does fall within the consumer defensive sector. So that combined with the short interest is really helping this move. I think that's a couple of what we're getting. Now, of course, they did have their financial results that they had this morning as well. So that's also giving it a lift, as well as they maintain their guidance. So this could be the start of a turnaround story for this company, because that's last time we were talking about this when they were, I believe, closing stores. Does that ring a bell to you, Ryan?
It does not. I'm sorry. I'm drawing a huge blank on that.
No worries.
Real quickly here, CDZI. This is CATIS. This is a land and water resource development company in California. That's up 16.8%. That's also pretty timely. DATS looks like that's trying to take out the pre-market high. This CDZI that we were just talking about here a second ago, kind of low, kind of thin, kind of a thin trader here, but this moving higher here. Watch DATS though, because this is actually happening right now. We're getting expanding volume right at that pre-market high. Let's see if DATS can pop above 450 DATS.
So Walgreens also had reports from Sky News back in December last year that Sycamore Partners was approaching lenders to fund a potential acquisition of Walgreens Boots Alliance. That was some news previously. Last month. I'm just trying to look and see where I saw the store closures, because I thought that we were keeping an eye.
Yeah, we had talked about it that morning that we saw some of those. I remember exactly what you're talking about.
Now, one thing to keep an eye on, because this could really get the stock moving, especially if we're going to see rotation into more defensive names. We're approaching the 200-day SMA, and if we recapture that, there's a gap to fill. From about 1250 to 1550. This looks like a pretty good setup here. I don't think it's going to happen quick. It maybe next week, but this is looking like a really good setup for if we recapture that 200-day SMA, that this starts trading much higher. You see what I'm talking about there?
No, it's on a different chart. I'm sorry. I'm way too slow for this.
No worries. I talk way too fast sometimes too.
So here's the 200-day that you're talking about reclaiming.
Yeah. So if you scroll out a little bit, so you can see a larger, more price action. There you go. Now you see the gap. So we recapture that 200-day SMA. That gap likely is getting filled, in my opinion.
51.5 on that gap.
51.5. What? Oh, 15. Sorry.
15.5. I'm sorry.
No worries.
God. I'm being distracted by something going on the side. It's completely my fault. I apologize.
VMRE, great mention. Smoked tuna. That looks like it is getting support from VWAP, even though it traded beneath it. Let's see how this closes. If we do close above VWAP, this may have some strength to take us up higher. But I'm not jumping in this quite yet. I want to see if we can close above VWAP. And VST also pushing up. This one looks like it might get going here as well. But the
VST?
MVST.
MVST.
Sometimes I talk so fast the words don't even make it all the way out.
Yeah, I'm doing my best, but man, am I struggling right here.
Some of these are rebounding a little bit here. What's the SPY doing? Is SPY turning around?
SPY is trying to bounce here, but it's very, very small. DATS is above that pre-market high. That did happen. So we were able to scalp that up 2 for 2, Izzy. A whopping 2 for 2 on lunch money.
If SPY cannot recapture 582.30, I think we'll end up going lower. That was the support this morning, and now it's resistance. So looking like it's going to have a task getting back above 582.30. But the market, the smaller names are liking that, so they're trading up a little bit here. AKYA still trying to hold above that 65 EMA. That has been a slow mover this morning. It looks like Hoth, when we mentioned that earlier, that got up to 245, hasn't really come back yet, even though it was holding the VWAP. Don't know what we're going to get out of Hoth. Be careful with that one.
I feel like the trade might be over on that one. A lot of stuff on the relative volume scanner here today. TMDX looks like another leg lower there post that short report. Not a good day to trying to fight a short report today. That's what that seems like. Man, oh man.
Well, still getting a tiny bit of upside in MVST, but like I keep saying, volume. We need to see more of that.
DTIL continuing to break down here. VMAR, this looks like that's on the backside of the move. XHG, not sure about that.
Looks like Bitcoin's trying to rebound, but I would think that it might have a hard time getting back above 93.5. Some of these are looking like they're really trying to push up. You see that volume. LAES is RX. Fubo may have hammered out a bottom.
Michigan consumer sentiment 77.9 versus 75.1. I know that came out of about 20 minutes ago.
It looks like there's a lot of these things that are curling back up, but I need to see a little bit more confirmation in order to feel comfortable about trading them again.
You guys saying there's news here. What is the Trump news that you guys are talking about? Why don't I see that here?
Trump off hook market rebounding.
Yeah, what news? Something? Like what? Yeah, what? Where? Why?
Oh, it's because the judge has sentenced him in the hush money case, but didn't impose any punishment. So I'm sure he's fuming about that. That's the big headline that I see here. So he's off the hook, is what he's saying.
Just sorry, not seeing that in the news feed. I'll look into that. I can't keep doing multiple things at once. I'm going to keep screwing up. Yeah, no, Jill. I mean, I didn't think we were gonna. I don't know. Is that really what the market is bouncing on? Maybe.
Well, I mean, that's
I didn't think I personally I didn't think he was going to get jailed, but whatever.
I don't see it in the news feed for the SPY. Yeah. It's something that you go to a lot of these news web pages, and they have that across their banner. So let's see. How's DJT reacting to that? Oh, what do you know? It's taken off.
Yes, it sure is.
Well, let's see here where we go with this.
Here we go. Here's the piece of news. So it was just on DJT there. Okay. Oh, and my thing. I put you up there. I'm sorry about that, 13. That was entirely unintentional. Let me get that back.
Super dad. Anyway.
There we go. Sorry about that. That's funny. Okay, well, DJT running on that news. Market did bounce a little bit, but it looks like that's kind of slowed down. We'll see if that picks up here. DATS continuing to move. So that 450 area really kind of shot it. We're actually above 5 now.
Yes, Jaboni. He's basically, yes, he's essentially, I guess you want to call it that. He's a criminal.
Yeah, that's, well, whatever.
The vote already happened. We got a criminal in the White House. Okay. We'll find out what happens next. AKYA, that's pushing up. That was a great mention when you guys talked about it, because that was still setting up.
You still have more room to the VWAP here if this can get above it.
Mm-hmm. Needs to get above the 320 though, because that's where it was rejected previously. So this next test, I would want to see it actually take out 320 and push more into the consolidation.
See if we end up getting that. UAL, here's the Delta pull back at all. Yep, pulled back to the VWAP and bounced on Delta.
What trash talk are we? I'm not going to go there.
Yeah, don't even bother. It's still a very heated issue for people.
Yeah.
CDZI, the California water play, that is up, or that is off the highs there. The thing that I'd really like to see on this one is going to be some more volume. I'm actually surprised we didn't, especially with a float of 45 billion here. I'm not sure CDZI would have liked to have seen more volume than this. It is already at the half of the session average, but we'll see.
BAER, that's coming back up. Has to get through this big wall at 330.
DATS continuing to rip here. That looks to be the best one there. So I was out on that at that 450. That kept running here.
MBST still trying to go higher. I don't like these neutral candles they keep putting in though. And the thing is that these candles can indicate that it's continue to this upside, or it's an indication of reversal. That's why they're neutral. It could be one thing or the other. Just kind of shows up, and you're just like, well, what should I do? VBAR, I don't know. I'm trying to find something, folks.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't see a whole lot of good setups still. Now, here's the thing. I'm looking at the SPY. So let me bring up the SPY chart because I don't really have an individual play that's setting up here. Here's what we're looking at, though. If this market continues to bounce here, maybe we will see some turnaround in some of these names. I look at the same list of names that we talked about on the downside. I had Apple, Netflix, Amazon, Costco, Goldman Sachs, Tesla's probably had one of the better bounces here. It looks like they had a flush down to like a 377 level that bounced a little bit. The rest of these, not as much of a flush action, but they do look like they're bouncing. So if this continues, there might be some more action to the upside here.
I was getting asked about yin. This is the leveraged bull shares for China, the ETF.
Yin?
Yin, WINN. Getting asked about that. What do we think? And when I look at the daily chart, it's looking like it's coming down to some support area. But I think you're going to see a bigger move. If there's going to be a big move coming, it's going to be next week, I think, when they issue their new bills on the 15th to help support their currency, stabilize it. So I would be, I think that we might get some upside in China, the China ETF next week. I don't know about today. Today, just down 7%. Seems like a bounce could be coming. The RSI is just under 35, but I think I'd want to see it a little bit lower first.
You think this bounces with our market if our market keeps bouncing? Or you think there's just really no correlation to that?
No, these are two separate markets.
Okay.
The China market's not doing great. Ours is doing fantastic. Tariffs potentially a huge headwind for China. our economy is much stronger. Theirs is really going through it. There's just a lot of really bad things happening over there, and they are trying to do everything they can to stabilize their RMB. And this next series of bills that they're going to be selling on the 15th. That's what they're that could be a positive catalyst for their stock market briefly. So I don't think that there's anything happening today, but I expect something to happen potentially next week.
Okay. Okie dokie.
Wow.
I don't really, and I was just taking a quick look on Twitter. I don't see anything that we haven't covered yet.
Still getting some more upside.
Yeah, we've been on top of all this stuff. We've been on top of all of the stuff so far.
VMRE looks like that's potentially going lower. AKYA, this thing still needs more volume to get going.
Rigetti, RGTI, looks like this is bouncing off of the lows here today. This is actually lower than it was yesterday. How are the rest of those quantum plays doing? QMCO, not as great. QBTS, that one really got slammed.
Well, if you listen to what the CEO of D-Wave was saying.
Yeah, I sure did. I actually went back and listened to that.
And here's the thought now that I have when it comes to how far out quantum is and, how far out AI is, because we're still a ways away from generative AI, right? So we're really all getting excited about predictive AI. So why aren't we getting excited about gate logic is the big quantum computing processing that we're going towards, just like we want to go towards generative AI. Hold on a second.
And just kind of picking up, I watched that D-Wave CEO too. I'm going to side with Jensen. The way that the interview that 13's talking about here, he was on with Deirdre Bosa. They talked a lot about business. Jensen had basically said that quantum computing is a ways away. I'm going to butcher his exact quote, from a very useful spot. And the D-Wave CEO gets on that interview and says, we're commercially acceptable now. Yeah. You're arguing two different things. Okay. The company has $2 million in revenue and loses $6 million a quarter. I'm sorry. Jensen's right. We're far away from this being a huge application for you to be able to make money, have the company be cash flow positive. Companies can buy revenue anytime you want. I'll give you 70 million for 90 million in revenue. How about that? And I'll do it over and over and over again. So I'm going to take the other side of that. Jensen, I'm sure that NVIDIA is going to be involved in all of these things. I definitely think that actual useful applications of quantum, we're really going to be making some money. I would say probably that 10 to 15 years seems completely reasonable. Anything less than that to me really seems kind of unreasonable.
So my point is, why are we getting so excited about predictive AI then if we're not anywhere near generative AI, which is the ultimate goal? It should be the same for quantum. We're so far away from, gate-based or gate logic, I believe it's what it's called, is the ultimate goal for quantum. But we're in quantum annealing right now. We have quantum. So that could be comparable to predictive AI. Why aren't we excited about that right now? So I think there's a little bit of a manipulation there on Jensen's part, because they are working on their own type of quantum chips. But I think that these two CEOs, taking both into account what they're saying, you have to look at what the differences between the two different types of AI and the two different types of quantum, and understand that we should be getting more excited about quantum annealing as we are getting excited about predictive AI. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
I just think that I think that they were saying two different things, and I think both can still be true. Carmen here saying QBTS. I think their customers are government. One of their customers, actually, the CEO literally said it. It was MasterCard. Say again.
Yes, a lot of them. There's a lot of government for D-Wave. Yes,
yeah.
a lot of government, a lot of marketing, and a lot of logistics.
And in that interview that we're talking about, he actually mentions MasterCard as being one of their customers as well. That's actually using some of their product. Okay.
So now that we've ironed that out, let's see what the market's doing now. See if we give it some time to figure out what it wants to do.
Well, I'll tell you what's happening. That bounce is still going on.
What, in SPY?
The bounce in the SPY still going on. So it looks like it took a pause there for a sec, but it is continuing to go. Now, I will say, we talked about the breadth earlier. Breadth still looks poor. For every one stock that's up in the SPY, 2 3/4 are down. So this is about the same as it was earlier today. So breadth still poor.
DJT is still trying to push up. 35.30 is the intraday high, and it's trying to approach that right now. But there are some, quite a big number of sell orders up at that level. As far as the SPY goes, we are trying to hold above the 582.30 level, but we still have some time left in this candle, like another minute and change. We need to hold above 582.30, or else I think we end up losing it and go lower. That's potentially one thing that could happen here if we cannot hold above it. That's what I'm waiting to see what happens. I don't want to make any other predictions beyond.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. We talked about that level earlier. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Well,
BAER continuing to move down.
Let's see what other names we haven't looked at today are moving. Nope. All I see are just a bunch of things we've already traded.
Yep. I don't see any other new setups. I'm trying to look around.
Well, you know what? Let me take a look at some of these other names that we were talking about with regard to the fires. So Home Depot up slightly.
I think those might be those rebuilding plays. I think those might have kind of like a longer run. I don't. Those would be more swings than day trades.
Yeah. Waste Management having a really good time though. Nice bounce off of 200. Trying to recapture the 200-day SMA. Little worried that this may end up getting rejected and go beneath 200, but if it does, that'll be just an opportunity.
Uber, this was a really good mention. Izzy, you had talked about this earlier. We talked about this when this was initially making that move up. It pulled back, actually lost the VWAP there. Let's see what we did on that 5-minute, because that was just what I thought. How about that 13? Held that 65 EMA on the 5 and bounced clean from that.
Very nice.
This was a pretty nice. I did not follow you on this one, Izzy, but you know what? I'm out here struggling to look for one. This was a really good one.
Well, are we going to end up getting a full recovery today? Are the dip buyers going to come in and save the market? What do you?
I feel like it would. I'm going to say no. Just to give you an easy answer, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say we're not strong enough to bounce the entire rest of the day. We have this little bounce now, but that would really be something else if we were able to trade back up. We're still down 1.2% here. I mean, that would be, let's see, 588, 589. I'm not sure we recaptured that today.
It's having a little bit of a time with that 582.30. It's currently above it right now, but it certainly looks like the upside has slowed down as of late. So there might be some selling pressure coming in at this level. Take care, Judge. Have a good weekend.
I just got a report that it is snowing in Augusta, Georgia right now. Carmen, aren't you in Georgia, Atlanta area? Are you getting snow down there? Snowing in Augusta, Georgia. Just a reminder that anything is possible.
Yeah, we get snow in deserts these days. It's happened lots of times before, but
yeah,
seems to be a little bit more frequent. Yeah, I'm just trying to find something that looks.
I'm looking everywhere. I'm literally trying to go through like all my different sources right now. Oh,
so here we go with a rejection of the 582.30 on SPY. So those indicators were telling us that it was looking a little bit heavy. Volume was decreasing. Now let's see if we get some follow through with this selling. And if we do, we're going to lose that 580 and 33 cent previous all-time high again.
Oh my God, yes, everything is grounded. Carmen confirms. Gary saying tons of snow here in Atlanta. They're predicting ice storms in South Carolina.
Okay, so
see this. Well, so now they're. Sorry, you just kind of. This has got to be good for nat gas, doesn't it?
It's got to be good for a lot of companies. I'm just trying to sit back and think which ones should we be looking at? Because tell me about South Carolina. Like, how's your infrastructure out there? Is it suited for really really cold weather? Do you guys need backup generators? What's natural gas? Yeah, like what's natural gas looking like?
Natural gas right now, $3.90. Natural gas is up 5.65% on the day, currently holding here at $3.91. The high of the day was $3.97. That was down from the recent high of $4.22.
Snowing in Augusta, Wisconsin. Wow, they never get snow. Kit actually trying to push up through its VWAP. Needs more volume, but it's looking like it's trying.
It's a struggle finding a setup. Mo, that it seems like that's the, you know what, 13 Kit, this might be one of the better setups right now, given what we're looking at here. Kit pretty much right at the VWAP and trying, to its credit, trying to move through it. It's not successful yet, but boy, it's trying.
Yeah, but we see more volume expansion with this one, and then we could get some movement over the VWAP.
Snap. Okay, so Snap trading higher here on a TikTok ban, right? That's what you're mentioning here. Doesn't the Supreme Court still need to hear that case, though?
Thought they did. Let's see.
Yeah. Project Liberty proposes to buy TikTok. This is a good mention, though, Izzy. I know we were struggling for things. That's topical. That's going on right now. Appreciate you.
I don't know that TikTok or that China wants to sell TikTok. I say China, it's owned by ByteDance, but
yeah,
if we're being honest, this thing is a CCP shill.
Yeah,
and they don't want to sell because they'll give up their algorithm about how they direct propaganda towards our youth, and I'm sure they don't want to give that up.
Yeah, definitely
not. So they have oral arguments today with the TikTok ban before the Supreme Court.
Okay.
That's happening now.
Okay, and so you're seeing Snap react to that. See, did I miss something in here? Let me see.
Does Meta have some upside here too? Meta looking pretty good.
Now that's interesting because we saw big cap tech getting hit pretty good. If Meta,
yes,
yeah. This is going to be your outperformer. Yeah, no, for 100. Good mention. 13.
Because they have Reels. And that is a competitor to TikTok.
Yep.
So maybe Google should also be up because they have YouTube, which has YouTube Shorts. They're flat, but they are recovering very much in the same way that Meta is. About 30 minutes ago, probably when we started getting news about the TikTok Supreme Court visit, that's when things started to turn around for some of these social media companies, or the companies with social media attached to them. What's another one? We got Snap, we got YouTube, we got Facebook. What's another publicly traded company, folks? Help me out here because I don't like being on social media, so I don't know.
Publicly traded social media?
Yes.
Meta, Snap, Pinterest, right off the top. I guess you could say Truth or DJT, Truth Social. I don't know what you want to do with that one, but Pinterest would be another one. What am I forgetting here?
Pinterest up 2.5% almost.
Reddit, Izzy.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Izzy. That I knew. I'm sitting here thinking there's a huge one that we're not thinking of, and Reddit is it. Well done.
That one, though, well, this thing has been on an absolute run, so it being down today isn't too surprising. But it is getting some good support at 160. It's been getting support at 160 ever since it managed to hold above it in about early to mid-December. Does have some price action beneath it, but always recaptures and goes higher. So until we start losing 160s, on a more regular basis, like we get some sequential closes beneath 160, I think this is still has a lot of upside It does have it does need to recapture the 20-day SMA as well. So two things it needs to do.
Real quick here, NBIS. This is one that we've talked about for a lot. This had some unusual options just now. I'm seeing the 45 call. Looks like we had multiple hits here. 1,938 contracts, 1,938 contracts in the first one, 646 in the second. This is almost $1 million in premium between these two trades. This went off just now. The expiry on this is May 16th. The strike is 45. So I'm looking at that. 2,691 contracts have traded today. The open interest on that, 19,582. The contract says it's down 9%. So part of me is wondering if that's kind of an aggressive buy, NBIS. Anyway, just mentioning that we're seeing that here. I'm actually going to take a note of that because I want to check what that open interest is going to be on Monday. I'm going to make myself a note to check that. NBIS, multiple aggressive call sweeps identified by Benzinga Pro. Also, really quick here, Trading Purposes asking, what is that trading app y'all are using? I'm new to trading. So real quickly, what you see on the screen here is Benzinga Pro. This is a financial newswire equipped with other tools like unusual option scanning, a traditional scanner, calendars, signals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the important thing that I want to mention here is that you actually need a brokerage account. This doesn't execute our trades. This is providing us information and idea generation. So we're not actually executing through the platform you're seeing. It's a supplemental product. You'll still need a brokerage to trade.
Yeah, NBIS, this is also getting support from the 20-day SMA, and it's trading into a wedge. So this is very interesting.
Okay, well, there you go. Now you've got an interesting chart setup, 13, coupled with some unusual option activity. That's the type of stuff that I like. So here we go.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't have a position on that, by the way. I know I was just discussing it. I'm looking at it right now. I have not bought this. I do not have a position on this, but I'm looking.
Well, trying to find something to trade here. Looks like DJT is consolidating nicely up here after this move, and if it continues to hold, there might be some more upside. Just don't want to be up here too long, or else it risks falling down.
Sorry, were you done there?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, by the way, Nat Gas, which we just talked about, I had mentioned that had moved off the highs. Nat Gas actually now bouncing a little bit, 392. So this did pull back off the highs. Looks like it's trying to trade back up, though. Trading Purposes, I've watched y'all stream the past 3 days, and they've helped me a lot. That is what we are here for. Like I said earlier at the top of this, I am not going to make any claim that I can help make you a millionaire. But what I can help is I can help take you through some of the lessons that I've learned in the hopes that helps you in your long-term journey. And obviously what you're seeing from us is we're going to continue to break down news and find trading opportunities every single day.
Looking at SANA right now, this one has spent about a little more than half an hour trying to find a bottom here, and it looks like it's starting to curl. So if we can get a recapture of 430, that might be a good indicator that this is trying to go higher and recapture VWAP.
It looks like that bottom was an intraday double bottom there at $4.13. So it does look like it's holding that here so far.
KIT also trying to stay above its VWAP. I don't like the way this volume looks, but if we do get expansion here, this thing's likely going to push up higher into the 4 handle. I just really need to see better volume in some of these, because we're not going to get the moves that we're looking for if we don't get that volume. VMAR is trying to get back up to VWAP. That's funny. Let's see what else we got going on here. Yeah, snap.
VMAR to VWAP, huh?
Yeah. Go back to SPY, see what that's doing. Okay, so we are turning around after getting a rejection from 582.30 and the area around it. So 580 and 33 cents is the next support to the downside for SPY. That is a previous all-time high.
IINN being mentioned here by XVET. This is Inspiria Technologies. Now, this did pop earlier. This is back into penny territory. What happened on this? Friday here, preparing production in response to the spread of the respiratory virus in China. That's the news that you posted in there. Inspiria Technologies launches preparation for potential production ramp-up of its one of its devices in strategic readiness amid recent outbreak of human metapneumovirus. I think I got that right there. Okay, so this is another one to add to the play. So we talked recently about some personal protective equipment plays in case the bird flu starts to, ramp a little bit more. Looks like this is another one here. IINN. Another one that we had mentioned was APT, by the way.
Yep.
This one, interestingly enough, this sure looks like this is trying to test a 6 breakout, or was. Wasn't there a fire angle for this one too, 13?
Yep. They make fire resistant or fireproof house siding. They have house.
Oh, that's right. The side. That's right.
Yep. So when we do have these reconstruction efforts, this could potentially be one of those companies that gets tapped for fireproofing. The other side was that they have PPE, the protective equipment, and the masks. So this is a 2-for-1 angle here on the virus, the potential outbreak there, smoke inhalation in California, and of course the fires as a result of all the devastation. So that's an interesting one. Okay, and then there was let me make sure I'm hitting all of the stocks that you guys were asking about. You had mentioned Geico Lizard. Have you checked BBD? No, I haven't. Bank Brandesco. Not familiar with this one at all. No, we hadn't looked at this. I don't have anything on this. Down 2.3%. 2.36% here. I don't see any news on this. Sorry, man. I don't have a line on this one. Is this even a U.S. company? I don't think it is. This is Brazil.
Brazil's second largest private bank. 15% of Brazilian deposits, it looks like. And the largest insurance provider in Brazil.
I don't have any... I'm not looking at any news on Brazil, so I don't know if there's anything happening there that's causing this reaction. But being that this is a bank in Brazil, the second largest private bank, look and see what's happening in Brazil. Might be some indication as to why this is getting the movement it is.
Smoke Tuna mentioning GLXG here, Galaxy Payroll Group. This has the expanding volume that we really like to see for some of these short-term plays here. Did we have news on this one?
Yes.
Indeed, we did. Says it gained worldwide recognition for its professional services and innovative solutions. So it looks like it's human resource management tool here, a good PR here, plus 80%. The one thing I will say here, I'm not familiar with the product or the company, obviously, but I will say here, volume. This is what we want to see. Now we are starting to get some selling volume here. Go ahead.
China pump.
Okay, there you go.
It's got to be what it is. Payroll outsourcing, employment, consultancy, and market research services based in Hong Kong.
Yep, there it is. Okay.
Nobody wants to be there.
Real quickly, I actually should have led with this, but this is a great mention here by Captain Cloudy. Nobody's surprised. Captain Cloudy, what an awesome name. Mentioning Pan W here. I've been saying wanting this to come back in towards the 200-day. I want 3 closes above it. We did get one, right? We actually bounced pretty clean off of that on Wednesday. Now it looks today like we're kind of rolling over. Pan W still holding on to green arrows here against a market that's down. If this can maybe consolidate above this, get me a couple more closes here, I'm looking at a long swing on Pan W, Captain Cloudy. So full disclosure, no position yet, but I am actively eyeing this for a long side trade. Pan W. I actually think cybersecurity might be a theme in 2025.
So
it was a really good mention.
Yeah, if you draw a line,
let me go back.
164 and 173, or even make like a little box. That's
okay. Let me do that.
Yeah, make a box between 174. I think I said 174 and 160. Let's do 164 and 174. Just make a box between those two areas. That's a consolidation area. that it's trading in right now, and it needs to break out of.
What was the numbers again? 170,
174 and 164.
okay, 174 and 164. Yep. And then we want to really kind of, there we go. There. Come on, Ryan, your hands, be better. Here you go. Here is that area that 13's talking about. And so, and you know what? Now that I look at this, if we do continue to close above the 200-day, we are likely also going to pop out of this area you just had me highlight here. So that looks pretty good. Pan W higher. We'll see.
And then you have a resistance area up at 180. So there's several levels to draw from this.
Yeah.
You have the consolidation you need to see the breakout of, and you need to see you want to see what it does at 180. Now it might initially get rejected, but it could end up getting through that later on.
Mm-hmm.
You have an RSI on the daily here that is at 30. So this is also a very low RSI rebound.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of good technical indicators here for Pan W suggesting that there is some upside ahead. So we need to see that confirmation.
Also, this company did a split last year, 2-for-1 split. We were recently talking earlier this week. Companies that are doing splits generally doing well. Companies that are doing reverse splits generally not doing well. Pan W, 2-for-1 split last year.
Well, folks,
okay. We got 1 minute till we go to Sandy here.
No problem. I mean, it looks like that's probably going to do it for me as far as, and here I am.
There we are.
As far as some of these day trades goes, it looks like MVST is trying to push up. I don't see a whole lot other than that trying to get going here. We're getting mentioned earlier. It might be a good day just to sit on your hands and take some notes, see what the market does. Have a good weekend, everybody. I will be back on Monday. Take care. I will see you then. Bye-bye.
Okay. 13, really appreciate it. Take care. Sandy, let me know if you're ready. Looks like maybe not. Yep. There we go. Let's go ahead and bring on Sandra Stone. Sandy, I'm going to start with one. I know you're in California. First of all, How are you doing?
Good. How are you? Good morning.
Good. You, friends, family, everyone.
Yes.
Okay. In California. Okay, great. We have been talking about a lot of the extreme weather here. Apparently, we're getting snow in Atlanta. So, is it snowy where you're at, or are you good? Is the weather good?
No, it's chilly. It's chilly out right now. It's about 49 degrees, but it gets hot in the afternoon, so it'll get up, like maybe 74. The problems are the winds, of course, which is problematic for the fires, but hoping everybody that's affected by the fires are doing okay. Stay safe.
Okay. We've been doing that too. We send our heart out everyone that's affected there. I know I have family in California. Thankfully, everyone seems to be okay. Okay, Sandy, what do you got coming up for us here today?
So we're going to go over our NVIDIA trade from last Friday, and then we're going to go over some option flow data that I've been seeing come in on Oploven, Target, and TSM.
Okay, that sounds like fun. Sandy, I'm going to go ahead and roll your intro. Good luck today. Take it away. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Welcome back, traders. This is Sandra with Trading Made Simple. I'm here to show you short-term proven strategies. People think trading is a one-size-fits-all market. It's not. We live trade and train daily. Let's talk trading.
Good morning. All right, let's start off. Let's start off with our trade that we did last Friday. So if we go to our charts here, you can see that we ended up last Friday getting into NVIDIA right over here. And we were actually, if we look at this, we took a debit spread, an at-the-money debit spread. Now, the next following Monday, it actually opened up and we were at 50% as soon as we opened. So I took some contracts off. I hope you did as well. It got up to 65%, took another couple contracts off, left one as a runner, and then we had this down day. So just to show you how quickly those profits come, and then if you don't take your money off the table, here we go. So ended up trimming, and then all of a sudden losing 50% on that one contract. And then I was out of that trade. And now you can see that we're under the 20 on a daily, looking bearish, right? So this is next week's calculation, depending on where we actually close today on NVIDIA. And looking to see if we actually end up going even lower. You can see where the high and the low have already been positioned based on right now's pricing. So until this actually closes, the indicator doesn't give you that expected move for the following week. So just keep that in mind if you're using those types of indicators. And then as we take a look at what's going on in the market, so we think we had jobs reports today, didn't come through very well. Well, actually, some of the data did, but in any event, the market didn't like it clearly, right? So look at SPY down $8, almost 1.5%. Really big day on SPY, and we have a consolidation area right here at 580.42. So if we end up actually breaking this little area here of five, I will, I'll just put it right here at like maybe 580. We break 580 today, and we can see some lower lows here down to about 567. So really kind of looking to see if we end up breaking through today's seal. We're already at a negative $9. Nice correction thus far in the market. Let me take this off here so we can kind of see what we got going on. So here on the QQQ, you can see we're also, again, at a consolidation area right here at 505.50. Our last pivot high was at 503.76. So 503.76 really needs to hold. If it doesn't, right, next week we could go down to 496.24. You could see the momentum on the chart. Always nice to have a momentum indicator so that you can identify where, right, what type of wave is coming in. Is it a positive wave or a negative wave? It's definitely a negative wave here. So oftentimes when we hit this negative 200 on this indicator, typically means that we're oversold, and vice versa. If we go up and touch the 100 plus 100 here, then we're overbought. And oftentimes when you see that happening, if we take a look at this candle right here, you could see how we crested just a little bit up, and you could see that there was a divergence, right? Prices going up, momentum was going down, and then it corrected itself. So always remember that momentum drives price. So I always like to see a nice momentum indicator. Really doesn't matter which one you have. Trading is subjective, and so you just really want to connect with something that could visually represent what's happening on the chart for you so that you can identify and possibly forecast where price is going. And you have to be quick, right? Especially if you have those short dated options like we did. So let's see, we did SPY QQQ. Let's look at IWM, canary in the coal mine here. This too also today breaking consolidation. So breaking consolidation at 217.79, already hitting, by the way, on momentum on a daily, hitting the negative 200 range, right? A bit oversold here. We could be bouncing back on IWM. And then let's go for DIA. So DIA also coming down on its momentum, hasn't hit the 200 range yet, but definitely breaking below its consolidation area at 421.47. So if we continue, right, because right now what's holding, since we broke through support right here at 421.37, where could we go next? Well, our last pivot daily low was 416.37. We still got a ways to go, guys. We still got a ways to go. We'll see how this ends up looking, right? We typically don't do, a very sharp V recovery. Look at this V recovery right here, though. As soon as we pass the zero line above it, we got a huge pop. So what are we looking for here? Well, is it going to drag on like this right here and just go sideways again? We'll have to see next Monday, but we're definitely below the 20. Always bearish, doesn't matter what time frame you put it on. If price is below that 20, we are bearish. And look at how far we are, by the way, of our reversion to the mean. I use the 20 as a reversion to the mean. You may be using something else like maybe a VWAP or maybe a volume indicator, but I really like using the 20, and you could see how far away. To me, that's a concern, okay? So the farther away that we get to the 20, if you look back on your charts, you could see that we always kind of, hang around the reversion to the mean. We either go above it and then below it, and then we come right back to it because it's a reversion to the mean. You never get away. You never get too far away from that bell curve. So as I look at this on an hourly chart, which is a short swing, I'm like, wow, we are really far away from that. What does that mean to me? We could possibly have, now that we've, look at how this looks on an hourly, right? Couldn't we have a possible consolidation and then a bounce before what? Well, before we either come up and do a double top and then actually change the trend, right? We come up here to the 20, break above the 20, momentum goes above the 0 line, breaking the trend that we're currently in on a 1 hourly, or we actually come up all of these areas right here acting as resistance. We have several power lines before we even get to the 20. We could come up and do a bounce right up here to the last hourly pivot low here, and then do what? Well, when you make a high and a low, then you make a lower high and a lower low. And that's what we've been doing kind of on a day chart here. And so if you can identify the trend, to a lot of people, this looked like, okay, we did a double bottom, we bounced, consolidated, and then maybe possibly a triple bottom, but instead it broke the bottom. So when you have a break of a double bottom, triple bottom, what do you have? You have a lower low. So because of that, we're still trending lower now on a daily on DIA. So so now that we've gone through the indices, I want to take a look again at option flow. Option flow, I love is because you can kind of like look at option flow and then look at a chart and then make a determination based on your support and resistance levels and then say, hey, I want to make an automated trade. As an example, right now we're bearish, but I see that option flow, let's just say option flow is coming in for target. So as I look at target on a daily, I can see actually we made a high and a low. We've been consolidating, and look at how close we've stayed in the with the 20, right? And we just had some option flow come in today for a 145 call. So as we look at the daily chart, you can see that really, I mean, that this is average true range targets right here for the upside for target. Here's the target for target. Okay, so as we look at the target, we can see that 145, 146. That's actually the second, right? The second target before we get to the take profit target 3. And what's next to 3? About 150. What do we call that? 153. And you can see that pivot trend line, right? Being formed right here on the top and the bottom. We have momentum above 0 line. So this actually does look bullish. And look at target, the way it's completely, right? Completely different looking for the day's progress than our indices, right? I just showed you all the charts on our indices. Everything is going down, looking extremely bearish. Target's taking a bounce here, $3.70, looking strong, eyeing option flow. Trader tools, right? I mean, it's so important sometimes when, instead of maybe scanning the 5,000 stocks that we have, sometimes just looking at a tool like option flow could really help you out. So just FYI, something to take in consideration to give you some trade ideas for some high-flying stocks. What was the other one that I had that came in with option flow? Was TSM on puts. TSM on puts. So as I take a look at that, I'm looking at a 185 put. You can see that earnings are coming up here on 116. A 185. That means that somebody is forecasting that we're going to break this rising trend line. We're going to break it. And you can see that we've just come over to our 203.43 and did a bounce today. TSM actually looking relatively strong comparably. Let's take a look at AMD as an example, down $6. Let's look at NVIDIA, down $4.05. TSM actually looking pretty decent for the conductors, right? So as we look at the semiconductors and we're checking out the chart, you can utilize the option flow and say, what do I really need to see on a day chart for us to get that type of move? Because they're forecasting 185. That's like a really strong move to the downside. So as I look at this, I can say, okay, well, we have earnings. Is this an earnings bet? Or does it just think that it's going to, are they forecasting that we're going to break the zero line on momentum? We're going to break the 20 and then we're going to head lower. And I have to tell you, this would be a perfect type of trade to enter as an automation. And you could say, hey, look, if this breaks, if I'm looking at this blue marker here, because that's where my 20 is on a day chart. So as I'm looking at this, I could say 203.46. I could pad this and just say, if we break below 203, could we get a continuation move further down? And the answer is absolutely yes. Because in my mind, no matter what chart I'm on, if I break the 20 on a daily, we're heading further down. This is a significant move. They're talking about like 20 points down, right? So keep that in mind. I would automate this. If we break below 203 to buy a put, you could also buy a put debit spread for the next following week, or you can give yourself 2 weeks as an example, since you recognize that this says earnings is actually happening on the 16th. So we got about 6 more days. Yeah, I'd probably go for the weeklies. I like this. This would be a good automated trade. Holding relative strength here for TSM. What else do we have going on? As I'm losing my voice right here. APP, App11. This is interesting. A ton of option flow coming in for puts. The 300 put. This would be a significant move too. As a matter of fact, it's looking like maybe. Well, we have some consolidation right here, didn't we? We had a double bottom, we rose, and we actually broke the bottom. And so I'm looking really then for 308.38 for this to continue on the downside, because that's where the consolidation level is. And so this too could be an automated trade, right? You could say, hey, we could go to a shorter level here. Let me see this. Yeah, that 313 for, oh my gosh, 313.44. That's exactly where this last pivot low is. It's actually 313.64. So we broke it by 20 cents. And we really need to break this little area right here that it keeps touching. Do you see that low for today? Let me just get the exact low. The exact low for today is 308.37. Needs to break 308.37 to go lower. So that's a great automated trade as well. 308, let me get that again, 308.37. Could that happen today? Well, you know what? It happened pre-market, happened at the open, and now we've drifted up a little bit. We'll have to see. We have a lot of hours in the day before we close, so we'll have to see how that goes. This one, I don't know. I'd rather take a look at, I know, I thought this one was, there was actually a lot of flow on this one. And it already has a move down of 15 points. And as I'm looking at an hourly, it's holding this last pivot low. And so I'm interested to see, because this either breaks down and stays, it needs to stay below the 310 level, or we're going to do a pop up and do what? A reversion to the mean. So you could be thinking, oh, institutions, they're buying a whole bunch of flow here on the put side, but because they may be buying their puts farther out in time, a move to the upside, they're not really worried about. They can actually have diamond hands because they have time on their side. So with that, a lot of retail traders typically buy shorter dated option contracts. And what that does is it kind of penalizes you with time. So if time decreases your capital in your contracts, you need to be very cognizant that you want that move to happen quickly, right? Because you didn't buy time, you bought the shorter dated options. So think about that as we move forward. I'm actually liking the target play, to tell you the truth. So as I sit here and take a look at this, Let me just take a look right here. 152. We could have some real movement on target here. And because of the option flow and this having relative strength, I could actually see us getting close to that target of 145 relatively easily. I mean, that's $3 away. I actually could see a nice move to 153 if this continues to the upside. I like this trade. I'm going to go against the trend right now in the market here. And I'm going to take let's see, let's go out for 7 days. I'm going to take just an at the money, make it simple, an at the money call credit spread. Let me show you how to do that. You go over here to the vertical, and you can, by the way, you can see the difference between these types of trade vehicles. So if I wanted to buy a long call, it would cost me 196. But if I'm buying a debit spread, which has minimum less risk, less reward. That's the caveat there. Less risk, less reward. You can see that the price drops significantly, right? 41 cents, which is $41 for one contract. And really what you're saying is, hey, I'm taking a 143, a 144, basically this call. I'm buying the 143, I'm selling the 144. So if we go sideways for a period of time, it's not going to damage this position very much. However, we really want by Friday to close above that 144 level. Now, it may not do that, and that's okay. I usually have this rule about debit spreads, and that's if it makes 50%, I start removing my contracts. And if it loses 50%, I cut my contracts. So think about when you are risking something, even though your entire risk for this position now is $50, that I'm really only risking, or my target risk price is really half that. And so if I look at it that way, right, it really does kind of create this plan of action for me so that I don't have to have analysis paralysis and freak out, especially if I don't have any stops in place. I always recommend having a take profit and a stop loss so that you can protect yourself, either or. So on this position, since we see the option flow coming in for 145, we're taking an at the money, so the 143 and 144. If we do hit our target at 145 and 145 holds as resistance, if we don't break above 145, wouldn't you cut your positions before, even if you don't hit that 50% target, right? Because you want to make sure that the information that you have, the evidence that's being provided to you, right? That you can actually identify that price action on the chart. And you want to go with that supporting evidence, not just because I use a very convenient template on a debit spread that says, hey, get me in and out 50%, 50%, it's easy. Instead, I want to make sure, even though I may be using that type of template, that if I see we hit 145, and that's where the option flow data is, and I don't see any other orders from option flow coming in to, let's say, higher levels than 145, and I see that 145 is acting as resistance, then even if I have 25% profit, I may start to shed, right, those contracts. I want to get some money off the table. Even if it's break even, you want to get your money off the table because you can actually see the physical evidence in front of you that, oh, there's no more option flow. I see that 145 was the target. They're not layering in additional higher prices. I'm looking at the chart and I can see that, let's say 145 is acting as resistance. And my debit spread is right underneath that level. So I need to get out with a little bit of profit, maybe not as much as I would have liked, but it doesn't matter. And this actually boils down to expectation of your trade, right? So back in the day, this is a great story, just to give you an analogy with this. Back in the day, I would put on a trade or whatever. And let's say I made $50 out of it, just as an example. And I would say, geez, I can't even buy a sushi dinner for $50. And so what I was doing is I put a value on the $50 versus looking at the chart, looking at the supporting evidence based on the option pricing and what's happening with price action, and just was like laissez-faire about, $50, that's really no big deal. Well, not only did I lose the $50, but they took another $100 from me as well. And so as this happens over and over and over again, it finally sinks in that your expectation of the trade or the expectation of the value of $50 may not, blow your whistle, so to speak. But if you don't take that money off the table, they're going to take it off for you and they're going to take more from you. You need to look at your supporting evidence and then make your plan of action and stick to it because it makes sense for price action, not because of your expectation of value of what's happening right there in your trade. So I'll never forget, these types of learning lessons because I hope it takes you from point A to point B a lot quicker than it took me. So I'm just going to buy 5 contracts of this trade right here. I'm going to go ahead and close it, or not close it, but we got that triggered, so to speak. So I'm really looking for us to get to 145 by next week. And if I end up losing 50% before then, I'm going to be removing my position. If I end up making 50%, I'm going to start to trim my position and have runners. If I see that 145 is acting as resistance and we don't break through to the 150 range, as an example, to the 153 range, because we could see that there's a gap right here, right? So right now we're actually filling the gap. Right here, where this gap actually from here to here, right? This gap is at 153.66. If you like to trade gaps, this is a great position for this. Could you take a long call? Yes. But remember, the entire market's going down right now. Do I think that the market may do some consolidation? Absolutely. When you have that type of a debit spread, it could really allow you to have diamond hands, hold on to your position much longer because the risk versus the reward, it really acts a lot slower than a vehicle like a straight long call. So think about the type of vehicle you want to get into. How soft are your hands if you don't really have diamond hands and want to hang on to it? And then also take in consideration what the market is doing right now, right? It's not trending positive like Target. We're taking this specific trade, not as trend traders, but we're following option flow, right? Because we never know, on Monday, as an example, we could get a bounce and then all of a sudden we can see a lot of option flow coming in to other names as well. And even, right, isn't that going to raise up Target if the flow keeps going positive? Because right now it has a lot of relative strength. Let's see here. If you want to find out more about coaching or education or options trading, stock trading, you could go to tradingmadesimple.org. Also just opened up a new school community, relatively cheap to get inside. And I'm going to be giving a daily watch list as well as chart analysis, morning analysis of what we do inside our live presentations, live trading each Wednesday as well, and option flows. So that's going to be quite fun. So that is skool.com/trading made simple. Come check us out. If you have any questions, just get a hold of me. I have a YouTube channel as well, Trading Made Simple with Sandra, or Twitter, options_Sandy. So hopefully this trade does well. Let's see what else is doing on Target on a smaller time frame, as we have just a couple minutes left. You could see that at 142, this is really a zone, not a thin line. Just remember that. 142.18. Really need to stay above that, right, to get a nice little push. But look at how far on a 1-hour chart, look at how far we are above, because we got a huge pump today. Look at how far above prices above that 20. Is that a concern? Absolutely. I'll be watching it. I'm not going to just let it go and take my money if I see that we're not holding on to some sort of support. We have momentum. I love when we have momentum above the zero line on the 15 as well as the 1 hour for short swings. So even though we are above on the 1 hour, you can see that we're kind of deflating. We're moving down a little bit. Doesn't mean that we're going bearish at all. Just means that we're taking a little breather here. And you can see that for the weekly, for this week's weekly expected move, think about this for a minute. The market typically runs a very um, they're very good with pricing. You know, the market, it's all calculated. Uh, Everything is done by machines. And so if the market is pricing in properly, you know, certain items, and this was the expected move already for this week, look at how the expected move, we ended up breaking through that 141.65. That was this week's expected move. If we look at a day chart, I just want to show you this because I like looking at the weekly expected move. It can kind of give you a forecast into the next following week. Typically speaking, if you look at this, it's not all the time, it's not 100%, but I like to have that weekly expected move on my chart because typically on a Friday, if you close above the weekly expected move, oftentimes, right, you'll see also bullish continuation on Monday. So something to take into consideration. Now you can see on a weekly, wow, 142.32. Wow, if we break above the weekly 20-day, right, we're really going to start going bullish and have this bullish continuation. And you can see on a weekly chart how we slowly have come up to that 20. So this is actually looking really nice. I mean, if you look at this on a weekly, this looks like a good, really nice chart here. What we're doing here on a weekly chart is we're actually kind of front running this just a little bit. And the reason I say that is because momentum is still below the zero line, right? Could it hit it and it could act as resistance? Absolutely. Maybe that's why it was only 145 right now for option flow and not 150. But I bet you if price breaks above that 20 and we get momentum above that zero line, we may just see more option flow coming in at higher levels. Why? Because the trend is changing on target, not only on the shorter time frames, but on a longer time frames. And so as we look at that, we could see potential bigger moves going in to the next following weeks. So I really love this play. I hope you like it too. We'll definitely do a rundown on this next Friday, and hope you guys have a great weekend.